Morning Drive. This is Robby and Rexrode. With Robby Stanley and Joe Rexrode on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen,
it's showtime.
Yeah, welcome into the Tuesday edition of Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley alongside Adam Vingan and Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Tuesday morning. Hope everybody's doing well. Got a big show coming up today. Filip Forsberg joining the program at 7:30, live from Sweden. So looking forward to that conversation coming up at 7:30. Greg Wyshynski at 8 o'clock to look ahead to NHL free agency, which begins tomorrow. And Steve Lehman from News Channel 5 coming up at 9 o'clock as well. And as always, we'll take your thoughts all show long. 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025 on our phone and text lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Adam Vingan in once again for Joe Rexrode today. Who, by the way, Joe Rexrode will be back next Monday, so something to keep in mind there. Adam, what's going on? How are you?
I'm good. Glad to be back.
Michelle, how's life? What's going on?
Living the dream over here. Also, really quick, do you guys ever have a dream and think it's real? I woke up this morning and I was like, did that happen? I was all confused. But that's just a side note.
I've had recurring dreams of still being in college and not having an assignment done, and that would prevent me from graduating.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like there is some sort of, I'm sure there's some sort of psychiatrist or related field that would tell me that that dream is trying to tell me something.
Yeah,
even though I've graduated from college.
Only like 2 years ago.
Me 2 years ago?
Yeah.
I wish. I've graduated from college 11 years ago, actually. So I'm glad you think I look so young, especially so early in the morning.
Just strapping young Adam Vingan over here. The thing that this doesn't happen to me very often, but since we've started doing this show, it's probably happened twice. I'll wake up on like a Saturday, and I'll look down at the clock. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's 5:30. I'm supposed to have already been on the road right now. So I'll like get up and like halfway get in the shower, get ready to go. I'm like, wait, it's Saturday. I'm gonna go back to sleep.
So mine is have a dream that I sleep through my alarm.
Oh yeah.
And then wake up in a frantic.
Just panic.
And it's only like 3:15 a.m. and I'm like, oh. Thank you. I still have time to sleep.
That's right.
I used to have issues with digital clocks where I would wake up. I would I woke up before I would set my alarm for 6:30. I'd be like, I woke up. I would wake up and I would look at the clock and my vision would be blurry, and I would think it was 6:30, but I was missing the little part of the digital clock that actually said it was 5:30.
There you go. Isn't that one of the best feelings in the world? Like you wake up in the middle of the night and you think, man, I'm probably gonna have to get up soon. I did that last night. It's like, man, that 4:30 alarm's coming, and then I looked at my phone. It was like 1:45. I was like, "Oh, good, beautiful. I got plenty of time.
Yeah,
I got plenty of time to go back to sleep. Great stuff."
One day, when the two of you have children, you'll appreciate your sleep.
Yes, I don't think there's any question about that. Filip Forsberg did have a press conference yesterday alongside David Poile, general manager of the Nashville Predators. It was an interesting press conference. Obviously, most of the conversation surrounding Forsberg and his new contract. David Poile did say in that press conference that there was no plan B, C, or D. It was always plan A to sign Filip Forsberg. Now, people ran with that yesterday. Our buddy Jared Stillman was the one that asked that question.
Jared ran
yesterday,
with something?
And he ran with that one.
No.
I guess my first reaction to that, Adam, was, well, what's he going to say right now? I mean, Of course, if Filip Forsberg didn't sign, they were going to go do something else, and they were going to respond accordingly. But I doubted very seriously David Poile was going to get up to the microphone yesterday and be like, well, if Forsberg hadn't re-signed, we were going to go after Johnny Gaudreau, and we felt like we could probably get in a good price range for him. But, we had our eye on Evgeny Malkin, too, because it didn't look like he's coming back to Pittsburgh. So those were kind of our two backup plans. Like, I knew that wasn't going to happen yesterday from David Poile.
Yeah, a great philosopher once said it takes two to lie, one to lie and one to listen, that being Homer Simpson.
Nice.
So, yeah, I was listening to Jared and Caroline talk about this for a little while yesterday, and Jared, as is his wont, was worked up about it.
As is his wont.
Caroline was also quite worked up about it, surprisingly. You never really see Caroline get, wound up like that. But I agree with you, Robbie, and I think Caroline also said this yesterday, that at that particular moment, as you just said, what is David Poile supposed to say? Say what you will about David Poile's recent transactional history, and we both have, and others have, and there have been more misses than hits in recent years, but I can't imagine that David Poile didn't actually have a backup plan. But his plan all along, as he said yesterday and throughout this process, was to sign Philip Forsberg. So with Philip Forsberg sitting right there, what else was he going to say? I have to imagine that there were contingency plans in place, that David Poile, if for some reason Philip Forsberg decided at the 11th hour to leave, that they weren't going to be caught with their pants down, so to speak.
Yeah, and that's part of the business in the NHL. You've got to be ready for that stuff, but you don't have to worry about it if you're David Poile, because you got your guy signed to an 8-year contract. Forsberg said all the right things yesterday. He did talk about how the no movement clause was important to him, not only because he wanted to be here, but for the security that provides from being here. So it's a big couple of weeks for Forsberg. He's signing the $68 million contract. He's getting married in a couple of weeks, and he's coming on our show today. So it's pretty good triumvirate there for
Where
Philip
do you
Forsberg.
think that ranks? I think it goes being on the show, getting married, having having financial security for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I mean, I might
for your
put
children's
getting
lives.
married at number 1, and then us at 2, and then probably the contract.
Yeah. Getting married is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's coming on Robby and Rexrode,
That's true.
live from another country. So that's going to be fun.
Yes.
It's going up a little later here in the show. I mean, in all seriousness about the David Poile part of this, he's in a really interesting spot right now from the fan base point of view. Now, one thing that was pretty clear to me as Bill Haslam was introduced is, minority owner the other day, which will eventually turn into majority owner of the Nashville Predators. I don't think David Poile is on shaky ground at all with ownership. I think they have 100% confidence in David Poile and what he can do. The fan base is kind of an interesting thing with him. There are some that are heavily on David Poile's side and some that want to see change. Having said all that, I look at the moves that he's done so far this offseason, and it's difficult to poke holes in any of them, really. I mean, we talked about it yesterday. I think the Forsberg contract is a fair contract. I really like the Ryan McDonough deal. I like getting Luke Cunnin off the roster, and especially when you can get back a third-round pick and a prospect in addition to it. By the way, the restricted free agent qualifying offers did come in yesterday, so Jakub Trenin, of course, getting a qualifying offer. Matt Luff and David Ferentz did not get qualifying offers yesterday, so maybe a little bit of a surprise on the David Ferentz part of that, but most of the moves you look at that David Poile's made so far this offseason, it's difficult to really find fault with any of them so far, I think.
I mean, I was a little surprised when I saw that David Ferentz wasn't qualified. Now, that doesn't mean that he can't re-sign with the Predators. Perhaps they want to re-sign him at a lower price than his qualifying offer would have been. But remember, David Ferentz came out of college with a lot of hype. And I remember there were a lot of Predators fans at the time that when David Ferentz decided to go back to, he went to BU, right? Went back to Boston for a senior season. Everyone said it's going to be Jimmy Vesey all over again, and then that didn't happen. And it seems I didn't see a lot of David Ferentz in Milwaukee this season, but from what I understand, it wasn't his best season. So. I mean, this doesn't mean that the Predators are giving up on David Ferentz. It just might mean that they did not want to qualify him at the price that he would have been required to be qualified at, and they might re-sign him to a cheaper deal as an unrestricted free agent. But a bit surprising, I thought, just because of where I thought Ferentz was in the prospect rankings.
Well, it was interesting. It was a a busy day yesterday in the NHL in terms of players
A ton
not
of players
receiving qualifying offers. Like I think it was somewhere in the 90s of players not receiving qualifying offers yesterday, including, Samsonov, Capitals goaltender, didn't receive one either. Like there's some interesting guys not receiving offers, which kind of tells you that some teams are trying to make some tough salary cap decisions, and it's not just a foregone conclusion like it is most years that most of your restricted free agents are going to be qualified. It was a pretty interesting day around the league yesterday.
Yeah. It feels like the middle class of the NHL is being squeezed out here.
Yeah.
Because the players like Philip Forsberg and the like are going to get their money. And it's easy to sign players to league minimum deals or, slightly above league minimum deals. But it's that middle class of player, the guys that might make $3, $4, $5 million that seem to be getting the shaft here. Another interesting development yesterday, a couple of them, and we'll talk about some of these with Greg Wyshynski later in the program. Valery Nichushkin re-signed an 8-year contract with the Colorado Avalanche with a $6.125 million cap hit, which could be a good value signing down the road. The Pittsburgh Penguins re-signed Rickard Rakell, much to Jared's chagrin, to a 6-year deal, I believe it was, with a $5 million cap hit. Evgeny Malkin still unsigned. There was a report that came out yesterday that Malkin will be testing the market.
Yep.
Now, that does not mean, of course, just like I was saying with Ferentz, that the Penguins could not end back up with Malkin, but, it's crunch time for the Penguins and one of the greatest players in their history. So, yeah, a lot of movement yesterday. Also, we talked about this a little bit at the end of the show. Matt Murray traded from the Ottawa Senators to the Toronto Maple Leafs. It was Murray and 2 picks for future considerations, which means nothing. They basically gave the Maple Leafs, the Senators did, a goaltender and 2 draft picks for nothing. They're just take them. And I think they're retaining some salary too.
Like 25%.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens in Toronto. The Avalanche proved that you don't need an Andrei Vasilevsky type goaltender to win the Stanley Cup, but Matt Murray has not been.
You do need somebody that can
actually stop the puck.
Occasionally stop the puck.
He had a decent season in a limited playing time last year because he was injured, but this is not the Matt Murray that won the Stanley Cup against the Predators in 2017. So I think the Maple Leafs are playing a dangerous game here with the team that they have up front and having an iffy defense and subpar goaltending. We'll see how it's a bold strategy, Cotton. We'll see how it plays out.
We'll see if it works out for him. We're off and running here today on Robby and Rexrode, taking your thoughts on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Coming up next, we'll get into an answer that Philip Forsberg had yesterday about the direction of the team that I was really curious to ask him about. We'll get into that and converse on that with Adam Vingan next. This is Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
At some point, it's a combination of who did you play and what does your skill set look like.
Get the best analysis of the big stories in the sports world with ESPN's Jason Fitz.
If you reach for a quarterback in the draft because you need one, you're going to set your franchise back 5 years.
Join Fitzy every Wednesday at 4:30. Presented by Blood Assurance. Jason Fitz.
I am 5'9.5"
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
If you're driving less, you could be saving more on car insurance. Save money with pay-per-mile insurance from Allstate. Call a local Allstate agent and get a quote.
Have you seen the selection of luxury pre-owned Rolex watches they now have at Genesis Diamonds? If not, prepare to be amazed.
If people really know the watch world, they come in and they're in shock. They're like, I cannot believe you have this selection here. They're able to see them, touch them, feel them.
Meet Genesis watch expert Charlie Rivers, who says over the past few years, Genesis buyers have scoured the world to build a collection of luxury pre-owned Rolexes, including all the hard-to-find models.
Daytonas, Pandas, Sky Dwellers, a huge selection of Submariners, Hulks, Kermits, anything that you could ever possibly want. We have every luxury pre-owned Rolex that we have here. We ensure that it's in pristine condition.
So come in today and find the timepiece of your dreams at Genesis. Or if you already own a Rolex and are looking to trade for a different model or even sell it, Genesis can help you get top dollar.
If you have a Rolex, definitely bring it in. I would love to see it and do a complimentary evaluation on it and see what we can do for you.
Genesis Diamonds, now with one of the largest selections of luxury pre-owned Rolexes in America. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Nashville's Best Deals is a great place to save cash fast. Get up to half off or more on dining and entertainment at thegamenashville.com/deals. Check back often for new featured deals and save money now at thegamenashville.com/deals.
Dale's Black Friday and July sales here. Power productivity with a tech refresh, now with up to 45% off top-rated laptops like the XPS, along with their special deals on business desktops with Intel Core processors. Get big savings on the latest servers, storage, monitors, and more with free shipping and special financing with Dell Business Credit. Upgrade today by calling 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. Thinking about gas mileage? Quality oil like Valvoline Full Synthetic can help you get more out of every mile. Right now, you can get 5 quarts with an STP Extended Life oil filter for only $36.99. Got an older vehicle? Try Valvoline Full Synthetic high mileage options. Get what you need for better fuel efficiency at any of our 6,200 stores or on AutoZone.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Finding the right person for the job isn't easy. Just ask someone who hired a drama coach to be an IT guy.
Yeah, I'm having trouble logging in.
I'm not buying it. Say it again, this time with feeling.
I can't log in?
Come on, man. I want to feel your struggle.
But if you've got an insurance question, you can always count on your local Geico agent. They can bundle your policies, which could save you hundreds.
Now, like your life depends on it.
I can't log in.
Yes, we'll make an actor out of you yet.
For expert help with all your insurance needs, visit geico.com/local today.
Well, you've got the whole world listening. What do you got to say?
Never miss a moment of the show. Subscribe to the Robby and Rexrode podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. We may now begin our day. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode
On ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
I'm just curious from your standpoint, how important was the direction of the team and just the direction you feel like you guys are heading as a group in your decision?
It was, yeah, I mean, it's up there, probably honestly the most important thing, because at the end of the day, you turn 28 this summer, you want to achieve things. We've been close. We've had a really good team over. I've been lucky enough, obviously played in a lot of really good teams here, but we still haven't taken that final step. And for me, I mean, you look at the team and the moves that was been made in over the last few years, and obviously the season we had last year. I think this team is trending definitely in the right direction, and that was a huge part for me. Like I said, in my age, you obviously can't take anything for granted. I'm not old, but I'm also not a rookie anymore. So you need to do everything you can and surround yourself with the best possibilities to win, which goes on the ice and off the ice. And with this decision, I feel like we've done that. I mean, this team is trending in the right direction. And like David mentioned, bringing Ryan McDonough on board, who's a player that clearly has done exactly what we're trying to do in this team and been a key part of it too. I think that's something that we definitely can build on. And it'll be very, very exciting to have him alongside us this year.
That was Philip Forsberg yesterday discussing the direction of the team and the role that played in him re-signing with the Predators. 8 years, $68 million, $8.5 million per year, the annual average value. So, Adam, one thing that you and I have talked about that I was really interested to see how this played out in terms of how heavily this weighed into Philip Forsberg's decision was how he viewed the future and the direction of the team. Now, obviously, with the contract signed, you would think the answer to that is, well, you've used it good enough to sign an 8-year contract with the Nashville Predators. But I think back to last summer, you brought it up yesterday when Arvidsson and Ellis got traded, but specifically Arvidsson in this case. The thumbs down emoji on Instagram that he had kind of reacting to that trade. Obviously, it's not just the hockey side of things. There's the human emotion side of things. He was very close with Arvidsson. I'm sure is still very close with Victor Arvidsson. So it's never fun to see one of your friends get traded away. But I even talked to him last training camp kind of about how he was feeling. And he was pretty open and honest about, it just kind of at the moment, you look at you're trading away a player like Arvidsson and trading away players like Ellis, and you had nothing tangible on the roster in return for it. Like, that's a tough pill to swallow if you're a veteran player, and he was pretty open about that. So, he said and did all the right things last offseason, but part of me, I do feel like there was a little bit of wait and see with Philip Forsberg. Like, I think he wanted to, number one, he bet on himself, and he had a great year, 84 points, 42 goals, all that. We know how that played out. But I think part of last year was also, all right, well, let's see exactly what this team looks like, because had the Predators gone in the tank, and quite frankly, had they finished where I thought they would finish last year, which was 7th in the division, we might be having a different discussion right now with Philip Forsberg. Like, I don't think Forsberg at this point in his career is all that interested in going through like a rebuild or hey, we'll be good in 5 years type thing. Like, he wants to win now. So I was really interested to see how the direction of the team and his thoughts on that would influence his decision.
Yeah, when you look at the Predators, and we do, that's our job. We talked about this yesterday. We questioned whether or not these moves, re-signing Philip Forsberg, trading for Ryan McDonough, and we'll see what happens starting tomorrow in free agency, if those moves, really make the Predators a legitimate contender. And to be clear, my definition of contender, because everyone's definition is different.
Yeah.
My definition of contender is, can this team actually win a championship? Not can this team make the playoffs and hope that everything breaks right for them to win a championship. Can this team win a championship? And I remain skeptical. But when you look at the landscape of the NHL, the teams that would have the room to make a run at Philip Forsberg, the Predators probably still give him his best chance to do that. For example, one team that gets mentioned a lot in terms of, potentially going after a lot of the bigger free agents on the market is Seattle.
Yeah.
Seattle did not have a good inaugural season. I think we were all spoiled by what happened with Vegas, and people thought that was the the baseline from now on. You have to make the Stanley Cup final in your first season. Kidding, of course. But the Kraken had a tough season. But, and they're trying to slowly build this up. They're not trying to compete necessarily right away.
Right.
But the Kraken have a lot of money. And I'm sure, and Washington State, like Tennessee, does not have a state income tax. So the Kraken could have, backed the proverbial Brinks truck up to Philip Forsberg and said, come be our star. Come be, the face of our franchise. And, would that have been appealing to Philip? Doesn't sound like it would have been, because the Kraken are not close to being a playoff team right now. And the Predators, the Predators give him a better chance of winning than the Kraken do right now. While he remains in the prime of his career. The Kraken might not be ready for prime time, so to speak, until he's in his, early 30s.
Yep.
And by that point, he's not the player that he is now. So in that regard, I understand where he's coming from. I was talking about this with Caroline a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about, well, what happens if the Pittsburgh Penguins lose Chris Letang and they lose Evgeny Malkin? And that's a team that wants to continue to win because they still have Sidney Crosby. And if the Penguins, who have an incredibly rich ownership group, the Fenway Sports Group, were to throw money at Philip Forsberg and say, hey, you can play with Sidney Crosby and win a Stanley Cup within the next 3 years, maybe he thinks about something like that. I said to Caroline as I was making that hypothetical that it was indeed a hypothetical, but there wasn't that opportunity on this market, I don't think. So being a member of the Nashville Predators compared to the other teams that could have thrown money at Philip Forsberg gives him, in his mind, and I think in my mind too, probably the closest chance to at least being in the playoffs every year.
Well, and then you factor in the money part of it too. Like, Willie's brought this up several times. In order for someone to come close to matching the Predators, he ends up signing an 8-year, $8.5 million annual average value, so $68 million. So if you're another team out there and you're getting to $68 million, you had to go over 9 per year with Philip Forsberg. And, could he have gotten that on the open market? Probably. There's probably somebody that would have approached 9 with Philip Forsberg, I guess. But, all things being equal, when you factor in the teams that have the cap space, teams that have, a lot of cap space, a lot of those teams aren't very good right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the decision you have to make if you're Philip Forsberg there. So he made it. He's here with the Predators. And now we'll see if he's right in terms of the way that he views the team and the trajectory. Because, I talked about this yesterday too. I think it was so important to get him back, not only obviously because of what he does individually, but Adam, I thought last year he and Duchesne together were really good. I mean, I thought they formulated a chemistry and a connection out there that was really fun to watch. And, Forsberg talked about it yesterday. They're not necessarily the same type of player, but they think the game very similarly. And I thought that was pretty evident and on display last year. And, look, I don't know what the lines are going to be this year. I think there's another move coming this week that will help determine that. But I think it's pretty clear that Forsberg and Duchesne found something together last year, and I'd be pretty surprised if they were broken up this year.
Yeah, they and Mikael Granlund,
for sure.
I thought were really good. And I think that was the line when Duchesne first got here, if I recall correctly. They put them together right away, and then that was under Peter Laviolette, and then Peter moved away from that line for a while. I think someone got hurt. It might have been Philip. I think Philip got hurt, and then they had to scramble.
Yep.
And then when he came back, if I recall correctly, they didn't go back to it right away, and that there were those of us who were around who thought, well, why? They were really good coming out of the gate. Why did they not go back to them?
At that time, Duchesne was the center and Granlund was on the wing.
That's right. So, yeah, I think that. Look, there were only 3 teams, if I recall this correctly. There were only 3 teams last year that had multiple 40-goal scorers: Nashville, Edmonton, and Calgary.
Yep.
So it would have been McDavid and Draisaitl,
Gaudreau,
Kachuk, Forsberg, Duchesne, and that's good company. And they do play off each other really well. And I imagine that John Hines will continue to keep the two of them together. Now, they played most of their time with Granlund. They could continue to do that. They could also put Ryan Johansson there if they want. But I think Forsberg and Duchesne are going to remain together, similarly to Forsberg and Arvidsson. They might have had different centers from time to time, mostly Ryan Johansson, but there weren't very many times when Forsberg and Arvidsson weren't together. And the same goes for Forsberg and Duchesne. So, or it might have been Forsberg and Johansson and Arvidsson. I don't know. It's been a while. I don't miss Jofa. I don't miss having to hear that. I thought that was such a stupid nickname. But then again, I think Forsberg and Duchesne had great chemistry, and I imagine the Predators will continue to rely on that.
615-737-1025. 615-737-1025. We'll take your thoughts on the Predators, on Adam Vingan's slander of Jofa. Anything on the table on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
I guess it would be slander because I said it.
That's right.
There you go.
Right.
I was like, people like to confuse slander and libel. I said it, so it's slander.
That's correct.
So I've always thought that hockey line nicknames, they're not that great anymore. Just like hockey
I'm
nicknames.
100% with you. Joe and I have had this debate before.
What, is he okay on Jofa?
He's okay on Jofa. He's okay on all of it.
Joe. Joe.
Let's expect more from ourselves. That's all I'm asking.
I don't know. Don't get me started.
We'll continue the discussion next. This is Robby and Rexrode on 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Hey, I'm Ryan Johansson, and this is Smashville.
Back to Johansson, and Johansson tips it in with one hand on the stick.
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network, ESPN 102.5, The Game.
Staples is evolving to Staples Connect, a new world of possible with innovative tools for small business and remote workers and learners. Explore what's new at your local Staples store or staplesconnect.com.
Hello, Nashville. Looking to save money on your wireless bill? You can when you choose Consumer Cellular. Sign up today and you'll get the exact same coverage as the leading carriers for half the cost. This gives you direct access to the widest, most established cellular networks available. Consumer Cellular offers flexible monthly plans with no contract and simple, affordable service that's perfect for your lifestyle and budget. Featuring a wide variety of top-of-the-line phones from Samsung, Motorola, and Apple, you'll find a phone that's perfect for you. Everything is backed by a 100% risk-free guarantee, plus 100% U.S.-based award-winning customer support. Switch your talk, text, and data plan before July 31st and get $100 on every new line of service. Right-size your plan and downsize your bill with Consumer Cellular. Visit consumercellular.com/Nashville100 and enter code Nashville100 to start saving today.
If you suffer from joint pain, from arthritis, or an injury, you know the traditional treatments: pain meds, steroids, and then surgery, right? Willie Donick here with great news. Now there's a better way, and it's here now from the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative medicine. This is an advanced, exciting, and natural alternative that can give you lasting relief using your body's own healing power. Listen, steroid shots are toxic to your joints. Pain meds can be addictive, and nobody wants to go under the knife. It's 2022, and those old ways are out. The new way is in. Regenerative medicine, restoring and repairing damaged joint tissue using natural biologics. No drugs, no downtime, no surgery. QC Kinetics and their protocols can address any pain in any joint and give you the quality of life you deserve. So call the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics now. 615-249-4024. 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024 for QC Kinetics.
Your company's hiring. Who isn't? We would love to show you how to use 1025 The Game to attract and retain employees. We can also help you find the exact person you're looking for with a targeted digital campaign. You can trust our team to help you build your team. Email us at together@cromwellmedia.com.
Dale's Black Friday and July sales here. Power productivity with a tech refresh, now with up to 45% off top-rated laptops like the XPS, along with their special deals on business desktops with Intel Core processors. Get big savings on the latest servers, storage, monitors, and more with free shipping and special financing with Dell Business Credit. Upgrade today by calling 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
Your home for Hit City is 94.9 The Fan.
Your Nashville Sounds return to First Horizon Park to take on the Memphis Redbirds. Swing and a miss, strike three. Sounds win. Pre-game at 6:50.
On your home for Sounds baseball, 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Hey, this is Pekka Rinne. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
The only thing we're missing is the Stanley Cup, and that's the main driver for all of us. I mean, that's the motivation in the summer. That's when you try to get better for. And individual stuff is fun and all, but at the end of the day, I want to sit back in the couch and look at a Stanley Cup ring, and that's my ultimate motivation.
That was Philip Forsberg yesterday discussing his motivation after signing the 8-year contract, $68 million. Forsberg coming off a 42-goal, 84-point season. And he said several times yesterday, the contract obviously is great. The individual production has been good. He wants to continue to build on that, but his goal now is to win a Stanley Cup, and he's been pretty vocal about that over the course of the past year. We're taking your thoughts on the Preds on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. We are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. We are live from the Hillside Medical Game Studio. Michael in Clarksville texting in says, do you guys think any of our young prospects will make the team out of camp? I know players like Glass and Igor will have the best shot, but are there any other guys that you think might have a chance to do that? Glass, I think, has a good chance.
Yeah.
Afanasyev is interesting to me, Adam, because he hung around a long time in camp last year.
Mm-hmm.
His size is intriguing to me because he's a big guy. He's got some skill to go along with it. He was decent last year in Milwaukee. It's not like he put up, groundbreaking numbers or anything like that.
12 goals, 33 points in 74 games.
Yeah, so he was okay last year in Milwaukee.
6'4", 208 pounds.
He's a big guy, and that part of it is interesting to me. I'm really intrigued when he does make the league, because I think one day he will be an NHL player. But I'm really intrigued what he looks like. My guess is that he probably starts the season in Milwaukee, would be my guess.
Yeah, because when you look at the depth players / prospects in the system, you think about who could play on the fourth line in a limited role. Well, they traded Matthew Olivier.
Yep.
Michael McCarron had a pretty decent role with the Predators. He is what he is. He's a huge guy, but other than that, I'm not really sure what he brings to the table. Afanasyev is an interesting player. He could probably fit on if you were putting together a quote unquote fourth line that had someone like Eeli Tolvanen and Cody Glass on it. I think Afanasyev would fit on the line like that versus a more bruising type player like Matthew Olivier, for example. I think some of the other prospects will probably spend a lot of time in Milwaukee.
Like Luke Evangelista, he had a monster year last year, and it's got Predators fans very excited. I would be surprised if he's with the NHL club this year. I mean, look, you can never, I guess, count out the possibility of him, lighting it up this week at development camp and then coming to training camp and making a huge impression. So that could absolutely happen, but I would be surprised if Luke Evangelista's on the team this year. You look at defense right now, and there's not very many intriguing prospects, quite frankly, that they have on defense.
No.
We were talking about this on the draft show, the night of the draft. They've not taken a first-rounder on defense since 2016 when they drafted Dante Fabro. That's a long time since they've taken a first-round pick on defense, and especially if you've watched the Predators going back to the early days, they're drafting defensemen left and right and developing really good defensemen. So their pipeline on defense right now is pretty bare when you think about it. I mean, I think Jeremy Davies is an unrestricted free agent, and it's not really worked out right now for him anyway at the NHL level. So the defense, I don't know what they're going to do in terms of the prospects that could make a push this year at training camp. So I don't know how much kind of movement we're going to see from young guys making the NHL club this year.
And that's the interesting question is, remember, the whole point of the competitive rebuild / transition was to integrate younger players into the lineup. And there are younger players in the lineup, like Tanner Jeannot and
Tomasino,
and Philip Tomasino and Eeli Tolvanen and Alex Carrier and Dante Fabro still in his early 20s. But then they trade for a 30-something Ryan McDonough. There was a point a few years ago where they were, one of the oldest teams in the league. Now, they had a goaltender who was close to 40 and a defenseman in Dan Hamhuis who was even closer to 40 than Pekka Rinne. So that skews the average. But they were among the older teams in the league. I think entering the postseason, I think the LA Kings were the only playoff team that had a younger average roster than the Predators, if I recall correctly. So they accomplished that. And then that kind of goes back to the conversation that specifically Willie and I tend to disagree with is, did they get younger? Yes. Did they get younger and better? No. And that's why, I've always thought that, and I said this yesterday, that, I think this team is not going to get better, truly better, until it allows itself to get worse, because it needs those young difference makers. Look at every team around the league, that did something this year of significance in the regular season or specifically in the postseason. They've got at least one 20-something who's just coming off of an entry-level contract or is on an entry-level contract that's making a huge difference. Like, the Predators don't have a Jason Robertson.
Yeah.
Now, they don't have a Cale Makar. They don't have, I'm trying to think of who else off the top of my head. They don't have a Mo Seider. They don't have that kind of player. Now, those teams were bad in order to get those players, but they don't have those players. And that, to me, is the biggest difference, is that there are young, solid players on this team. Alex Carrier was a member of the all-rookie team this season. Tanner Jeannot led all rookies in goal scoring this past season. But do either of those players look like the next face of the franchise? No, and I think that's what's clearly missing from this roster, and I think will prevent this team from taking that next step.
Michael also asked, do you think the Preds move one of the defensemen, either Fabro or Carrier, because they now have a logjam at the NHL level?
That's a question we've been getting a lot of lately, I feel like.
I'd be surprised, though. I don't know that I would really describe it as a logjam. Like, I think everything kind of fits in.
They've got seven NHL defensemen.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got Roman Josi, Matthias Ekholm, Ryan McDonough, Mark Borowiecki, Alex Carrier, Dante Fabro, and Jeremy Lauzon.
Correct.
Like, that's their defensive core. And it's fine. I mean, it's better than it was last year, with all due respect to the likes of Matt Benning and Ben Harper.
Yeah.
I do think that, Ryan McDonough is an upgrade. I think, another year of Carrier and another year of Fabro will help. I think Mark Borowiecki, when he was healthy, was solid and had a really good bounce back season last season. He might be in and out of the lineup now, as the maybe 6th or 7th defenseman.
Yeah.
But look, if Mark Borowiecki is your extra defenseman, you're sitting pretty, because Mark Borowiecki has played something like 500 games in the NHL.
Well, quite frankly, with the way that he plays the game, he's
not
going
to
get hurt.
Yeah, I mean, one of the most amazing statistics that the Predators had last season, I think Borowiecki missed like maybe 25 to 30 games last year and led the league in penalty minutes, despite missing a third of the season, because he fought a lot. But I really like Mark, and if he's your 7th defenseman, you're a lot better off than a lot of teams in that same position.
Yeah, and the reason I wouldn't describe it as a logjam is because I think it became pretty clear toward the end of last year their top 4 is not good enough. Like as it was constructed last year, Josi was awesome. Ekholm played with Carrier, but when with Fabro and Carrier in your top 4 last year, both of them, it wasn't good enough. And now that you have McDonough, whether it's Carrier sliding down, I don't think it will be. I think it's going to be Fabro that slides down to the third pair. I think that's a good situation for the Predators to have one of those two guys on third pair.
So would you have? If you have Fabro on the third pair, let's say with Borowiecki,
I think it'll be Lauzon. Yeah.
Okay. Well, who's playing with Josi, Carrier or McDonough?
I have Ekholm playing with.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I have Josi, Ekholm, and then McDonough
and Carrier. That's it. I haven't thought about that. That's kind of interesting. I don't think Josi and Ekholm
they hadn't played much together.
I mean, a lot of times it's like injury related, but that would be interesting. Because you don't really, that's not a combination you've seen a lot of. I think Ekholm has a lot of. Ekholm and McDonough have very similar qualities.
Sure.
So you would be getting the same thing whether it was McDonough or Ekholm up there. But that's interesting. I actually hadn't thought of that, because I thought of Ekholm playing on his offhand with McDonough, or McDonough playing with Josi. But I hadn't thought about Josi playing with Ekholm. That's interesting.
They got options. We'll see what ends up happening. I think it's going to be a process to get that part of it figured out. We'll continue the discussion on the Preds. 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. We got more of your thoughts to get to on our text line, if I could spit it out, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. This is Robby and Rexrode on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
If you're on the road between downtown Nashville,
they're still in good shape to make the playoffs,
and I-840.
Players make it clear they don't want to be somewhere anymore.
There's a new way to hear all your favorite shows and sports programming on 102.5 The Game.
I go back to that play and I shake my head. What I was worried about is that they were still just going to keep the goal.
It's 106.3 FM.
Think about all the good Titans teams. This is very much so a run-first offense.
Now you have 2 choices to hear Nashville's best sports talk. Check out 106.3 now and add it as a favorite.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Slightly warmer start this morning. It's going to be more of a humid day. That high of 94 is going to feel like 101. A few storms will be possible this evening.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the happy face truck today.
It's watching the top players take the ice. It's hard-fought games that end in victory. It's showing your favorite team to your favorite people. Secure your seats for the 2022-23 Nashville Predators season today to ensure you never miss a game at Bridgestone Arena. Plus, enjoy Nashville locker room discounts, exclusive presale offers, and more. Visit NashvillePredators.com/season tickets. Join the Loyal Legion today and paint the town Preds. That's NashvillePredators.com/season tickets. NashvillePredators.com/season tickets.
312 Pizza Company is Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria, and they're now hiring. Work for a family-owned business and be a part of their incredible team. 312 Pizza Company is hiring for all positions, including host, waitstaff, bartenders, cooks, and more. 312 Pizza Company offers health insurance and pay time off to full-time employees. Contact Kimberly at 615-730-7888 or email at contact@312pizzaco.com. 312 is an equal opportunity employer.
At Lowe's, every pro is an MVP to us. That's why we're introducing MVP's bonus points to our rewards and partnership program. It's the only pro loyalty program where you can earn points just by downloading our app or shopping select items by trusted brands and more. Then redeem your points for rewards that level up your business. Join MVP's Pro Rewards today and earn your first 1,000 points. MVP's Pro Rewards program subject to program terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/L/pro loyalty terms. Subject to change.
This is a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup sound experiment. We're looking to find the perfect way to hear Reese's so you'll buy more of them. Here we go. Reese's, 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 Reese's.
Reese's. Hey, get out of here, you little stinker. Reese's.
Reese's. Reese's.
Peanut Butter Cups. That breathy one sounded very creepy, am I right?
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. Thinking about gas mileage? Quality oil like Valvoline Full Synthetic can help you get more out of every mile. Right now, you can get 5 quarts with an STP Extended Life Oil Filter for only $36.99. Got an older vehicle? Try Valvoline Full Synthetic High Mileage options. Get what you need for better fuel efficiency at any of our 6,200 stores or on AutoZone.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Jared Stillman.
This is a team that the entire city is losing their minds over.
Caroline Fenton.
It's one of the youngest teams in the league. They don't have a single player over the age of 30.
Stillman and Company. Afternoons from 2 to 6.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley alongside Adam Vingan and Michelle Knezvik here with you on this Tuesday morning. Philip Forsberg joining the show at 7:30. We're taking your thoughts on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Matt on the text line says, signing Forsberg was obviously a big thing, which didn't make the Preds better, but kept them from getting worse. What are they doing to get better? This is coming from Matt on the text line.
Well, that's exactly what we were talking about yesterday. I referenced Gentry Estes' column in the Tennessean that he wrote following the signing, and he said exactly that what the texter said, that Forsberg signing didn't make them better, but it prevented them from getting a lot worse.
Right.
And I think we'll see starting tomorrow, the opening of NHL free agency, what this team intends to do to continue to get better.
Well, I agree, but I will say, they're significantly better on the blue line now.
Oh,
with,
for sure.
With Ryan McDonough coming over, they are
Yes.
significantly better than
Yes.
they were last year on the blue line.
Yes, they are. That is for sure. But as it usually is when it comes to the Predators, the questions are all on the forward position.
Yeah.
Because I do think that if they can get another season from Philip Forsberg like they did last year, if Matt Duchene can do the same thing or similar, they'll be, perhaps they'll be in good shape. But there is still an obvious hole in that top 6. Now that Luke Cunnin is gone, not that he made an impact, but he's not there anymore, and Ellie Tolvanen didn't take that job and run with it last season. So look, I'm really interested to see what happens. We were talking about some of the moves that happened around the league, and what could happen. Tomorrow. One would assume, I don't know this to be sure, but one would assume with Valerie Nichushkin signing long term in Colorado, perhaps that means the end of the line for Andre Burakovsky.
Yep.
And we were talking about how much money the Predators would have to spend in free agency. They probably don't have enough money to make a competitive offer to Andre Burakovsky. But if someone like Burakovsky came here, Burakovsky is an above average finisher. He does have some warts in his game. He is not as strong on the defensive end as he is in the offensive end. But you know what? You have enough players that are good in the defensive end that if you have a player or two who isn't as strong defensively up front, you can live with that.
Yeah.
Especially if that player brings a scoring element to your team that you don't have.
Right.
So, I think I covered Andre Burakovsky at the beginning of his career in Washington, and I've seen his game really develop, from there to Colorado. And yeah, is he a responsible shutdown defensive forward? No, but the kid can score.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's going to happen here, but if it did, then I would say, okay, I think they're better because they have a bona fide scorer on their second line behind Forsberg, behind Duchesne. But I guess we're going to have to wait until Thursday morning because we'll be off the air before free agency starts tomorrow to really talk about where this team is, whether they are truly better than they were at the end of last season.
Well, they need a finisher on the second line. If you're going to have Forsberg and Duchesne together, which I think makes a lot of sense based on the way that they played together last year, whether that's with Granlund or whether that's with Johansson, and I think it'll be Granlund. Like Johansson, if you're kind of leaving him there on that second line, he needs a finisher to play with him. He scored 26 last year, which was good. I mean, if you can get that again from Johansson, you'll take that all day long. But you need a finisher to play with him because his best strength is still his vision and his ability to distribute the puck. So you need somebody that can finish to play with Johansson. That's why, we were talking about Phil Kessel yesterday, and a lot of Predators fans talking about Phil Kessel. Like, I understand the intrigue there. He has traditionally been a goal scorer in his career, but he is 35, and he scored 8 goals last year. So that would be worrisome to me if I was a Predators fan talking about, bringing in somebody that can finish. You need a goal scorer. And the problem is, Adam, like in order to get one of those guaranteed bona fide studs that we're talking about, you have to have a lot of money, and the Predators don't have the cap space to do that right now with the roster as currently constructed. Now, David Poile could move some things around, and we'll see what happens there, but I think that's kind of the spot that they're in at the moment. Got a texter that says you can't win the cup with a team who relies on the physical game. You need skill on the second and third line. Young players produce, we could contend, but we need a second-line scorer to force teams to play their number one defense pair against them rather than always against our number one line. You can't name a team that won the cup with one line and was primarily a physical team as their identity. It's coming from a texter.
I'm going to try. Were the LA Kings of 2012 and 2014 not a physical team?
They were a very physical team.
But they
did have some depth.
Yes.
Well, that's the thing. Like, no team that wins the cup has one line that wins the cup.
Yeah, I mean, those teams had. I'm trying to think of those Kings teams. Well, they were great defensively.
Yes.
And they were fabulous defensively, and they had Jonathan Quick in his prime.
Yep.
I'm trying to think. They had Jeff Carter, Mike Richards, Kopitar, Dustin Brown was still quite good.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe not, but they were physical, but they were able to also score, I think.
Yeah. Well,
one of those seasons, I think they were like, I don't know if it was 2012 or 2014. They were one of the lowest scoring teams in the league, but also like the best defensive team in the league.
Yeah.
So if you are fabulous defensively and you have a rock solid goaltender who cleans up all of your mistakes, like Jonathan Quick did 8-10 years ago, I think you can get away with it.
Well, you got to have timely scoring too in the playoffs, and they got that. I mean, look, the Blues in 2019, they weren't.
Yeah,
they weren't a team that sets the world on fire
offensively
with the way that they play the game. But they did, they had Ryan O'Reilly, Tarasenko,
Braden Shen.
I mean, they had some good players. So no, you're not going to find a team that has, one line of scorers that win a Stanley Cup. But you also don't have to have superstars on lines 1 through 3 to get it done either.
No, I think the Blues are a good example because they did have, some really good players up front, like Ryan O'Reilly, like Braden Shen, like Vladimir Tarasenko, but they also had, a really good, they also had really great defense. They had Alex Pietrangelo and Colton Parayko and Robert Bortuzzo, which is not a name that Predators fans like to hear around here, but they had a solid defense as well. And Jordan Binnington, had the run of his life.
He did.
So I don't think you need a team of superstars to win a Stanley Cup. But it can be done. I mean, it's better to have superstars than to not have superstars, but it can be done. You can win a Stanley Cup without your Nathan McKinnons or Steven Stamkoses.
Got a lot of text on the text line about Luke Evangelista and what his timeline looks like. So let's think about this. So he's 20 years old. He was drafted in the second round in 2020. He just had a monster season in the OHL, 111 points in 62 games, 55 goals, 56 assists. That all sounds great, and it is. I always caution against when you're the monster junior numbers.
Right.
Sometimes that doesn't necessarily exactly translate to the NHL.
And I think Philip Tomasino is a good example because remember, 2 seasons ago, the 56-game season, Philip Tomasino played the entire year in the American League. Well, he was on the taxi squad a little bit, but he mostly played in the American League because the junior leagues were basically canceled. Under normal circumstances, Philip Tomasino would have been ineligible to play in the American League because of his age.
Yeah.
So it actually benefited him that the OHL did not play that season because he got to spend his time in the American League playing against professionals, which I believe prepared him for this past season. So it was almost a blessing in disguise. So I think Luke Evangelista needs a full season in the American League.
Yeah.
I mean, would it surprise me if he got called up for a game or two? No. But I think you're not looking at this coming season. You're looking at the season after.
Now, if he goes down there and he lights it up for the first half of the year, then maybe you rethink things then.
Right.
But I agree. I think he needs – it's very difficult to make the jump. I mean, heck, it's very difficult to make the jump from the American League to the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
It's extremely difficult to go straight from the OHL to the NHL unless you're Connor McDavid. And Luke Evangelista, I think you should be very excited about him. I think he has a chance to turn into a very good NHL player. I would not say that he's Connor McDavid.
No, absolutely not. I mean, there are plenty of examples of, as you said, players who have great AHL careers who are unable to translate it to the NHL. The Predators a couple of years ago had a player that fits that bill perfectly. I don't know if anybody remembers Daniel Carr.
Oh, yeah.
But Daniel Carr was the MVP of the AHL before he signed with the Nashville Predators, and he barely stuck in the NHL. And I think after he left here, he went to Washington, and he barely stuck there. Just because there are players who have 100-point seasons in the American League that have never been NHL players.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because a player has 125 points in the OHL doesn't mean he's going to become the next big thing as a professional.
But all signs are good so far with Luke Evangelista. Mm-hmm. So I think it's something to be excited about. I would say he's probably a year out, though, would be my guess. But we'll see what happens come development camp the rest of this week and for training camp here in a few months as well. 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. We'll switch gears coming up next. Get into the NFL. Which team do we think could be the biggest surprise in the NFL coming up this year? We'll get into that next. This is Robby and Rexrode here on 1025, 1063, The Game.
Your speaker at home is so smart that even Alexa knows where to find Nashville's best sports talk.
102.5 The Game is Nashville's best sports talk.
Ask Alexa to enable 102.5 The Game. Once enabled, ask Alexa to play 102.5 The Game.
Welcome to 102.5 The Game.
We are Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Hey, Ray Jeter here with Harness. Are you looking to take ownership in a position that will support your growth and development? We are an excavation and site utilities contractor. Several things set us apart from our competition, but we take the most pride in the professional development of our people. We have multiple openings for operators, pipe layers, and laborers. Our pay and benefits are second to none, including our 401k program. Apply today at selectharness.com. Harness LLC. Build people, move dirt.
Hello, Nashville. Looking to save money on your wireless bill? You can when you choose Consumer Cellular. Sign up today and you'll get the exact same coverage as the leading carriers for half the cost. This gives you direct access to the widest, most established cellular networks available. Consumer Cellular offers flexible monthly plans with no contract and simple, affordable service that's perfect for your lifestyle and budget. Featuring a wide variety of top-of-the-line phones from Samsung, Motorola, and Apple, you'll find a phone that's perfect for you. Everything is backed by a 100% risk-free guarantee, plus 100% U.S.-based award-winning customer support. Switch your talk, text, and data plan before July 31st and get $100 on every new line of service. Right-size your plan and downsize your bill with Consumer Cellular. Visit consumercellular.com/Nashville100 and enter code Nashville100 to start saving today.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Hey, it's Jared. If you're listening to us on I-24 towards Murfreesboro or I-65 towards Spring Hill, make sure you check out 106.3 for another great way to hear Nashville's best sports talk.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
The leading receiver. Awesome game 7.
Checker flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive. This is Robby and Rexrode. With Robby Stanley and Joe Rexrode on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen,
it's showtime.
Welcome back in. Hour number 2 of Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley alongside Adam Vingan and Michelle Knezvik on this Tuesday morning. We'll be joined by Philip Forsberg coming up at 7:30, live from Sweden. Philip Forsberg joining the show coming up here in about 30 minutes. So looking forward to that conversation with him. Greg Wyshynski at 8 o'clock to preview NHL free agency. And Steve Lehman from News Channel 5 coming up at 9 o'clock as well. And as always, taking your thoughts on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. We got a lot of thoughts on the Preds. We'll get back into that coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. And obviously with Forsberg later this hour at 7:30 as well. Switching gears right now, looking at the NFL and throwing this question out there to you, our listeners, and to Adam Vingan as well. Which team or teams do we think could be the biggest surprises in the NFL this season? And Adam, there's a specific reason that I bring this up with you, because your beloved New Orleans Saints are a team that I'm pretty high on heading into this season. Now,
All
I
right.
know that Jameis Winston is the quarterback, and there are people that have a wide variety of opinions on Jameis Winston and what he can be as a starting quarterback. Now, I will say this. Before he got hurt last year, the Saints were 5-2. They were playing really well.
Don't forget what happened in week 1.
Smoked my beloved
There
Green
you
Bay
go.
Packers
I
in
was
week
saying,
1.
Don't forget that.
Which basically all that did was wake Aaron Rodgers up, and they wrecked the league after that. But that's what happened in week 1 last year. Jameis Winston was really good until he tore his ACL. And then obviously, they trotted it out. Taysom Hill at quarterback. They had a revolving door at quarterback last year after he got hurt. Trevor Siemian, which he's the one that started against the Titans. That was quite something last year. So obviously, when your quarterback gets hurt, it derails your season. But you look at their roster. They brought in the Honey Badger. They brought in Jarvis Landry. They drafted Chris Olave. Marquez Callaway's there. And Michael Thomas is coming back this year. So I look specifically at that wide receiver core of Olave, Thomas, Marquez Callaway, Jarvis Landry. They got some weapons down there in New Orleans. Like, nobody's talking about the Saints. And I'm not saying that they're like a Super Bowl favorite or anything like that, but I think the Saints are absolutely going to be a playoff team. And if Jameis can stay healthy, they could be pretty darn good this year, I think.
Yeah, it's reminiscent of some of the earlier days, in terms of the pass catching options that Drew Brees had at his disposal. Jarvis Landry, I think, was a savvy signing by the Saints. Say that 10 times fast.
That's nice.
I like the addition of Chris Olave. I'll be interested to see what Michael Thomas looks like after a year off. I think Taysom Hill is basically going to be the tight end now.
I think so. I think they're done trying him at the quarterback position.
Hey, he came in here with against the Titans and had a pretty decent game. I mean, whenever he took the I just remember because I went to that game with my dad. It felt like every time Hill lined up under center against the Titans, they just did a direct handoff.
Oh yeah,
a direct snap, whatever you call it, and he would run 10 yards. And then I'd be like, keep Hill in, because just run the ball just get 10 yards every time.
That's music to Joe Rexrode's ears. Yes. He loves Taysom Hill.
I know. What's not to love is what I say. They re-signed Tyrann Mathieu. They signed Tyrann Mathieu. They still have Cameron Jordan. They still have Demario Davis. I like the Saints, of course. I do think that they're going to have an interesting season. Now, the unretirement of Tom Brady means that the Buccaneers will be the favorite to win the NFC South. But you look at the other teams, the Panthers, they just traded for Baker Mayfield, but I can't imagine that they're going to be very competitive this year. And with all due respect to Marcus Mariota, I don't have a lot of faith in the Falcons with him as their quarterback. So
I think Joe's got him penciled in as the NFL Comeback Player of the Year. So we'll see how that goes down there in Atlanta.
That will be interesting. I would expect the Buccaneers to win the NFC South. I'd be curious to see if the Saints finish in second. I'd be curious to see how close of a race it is.
Yeah.
Do the Buccaneers win by a handful of games? Do they go back and forth? Because the Saints have had the Buccaneers number in the regular season since Tom Brady became a member of the Buccaneers.
They have.
The Buccaneers have beaten the Saints in the playoffs with Tom Brady, if I recall correctly. But during the regular season, the Saints have had a strong record against the Tom Brady Buccaneers. So, yeah, I think the Saints will be interesting to watch this year. I'm really interested to see what the offense looks like. And of course, did we mention Alvin Kamara in all of this?
We did not.
Yeah, like that's what they have. They're gonna. I feel like they'll be a team. Because there have been in recent years, where the Saints had the worst defense ever, or very close to it. The Saints were a team that if they're going to win, they're going to win 45-32 or something along those lines. They're not gonna stop teams defensively. The surprise team for me, the first one that came to mind was the Denver Broncos. They of course traded for Russell Wilson.
Yep.
So they actually have a quarterback. Which they haven't really had in the past few years, unless I'm obviously
Drew Lock didn't get it done for you?
No, Drew Lock did not get it done for me, and I guess he's gonna start in Seattle, isn't he?
I think so.
Yeah, that's not gonna be great.
Either him or Geno Smith. We're really looking forward to that.
But I was just reading a list. I think it's Jeremy Fowler does the top 10 rankings of position players with insight from people in the league, and number 10 on his list of running backs was Javonte Williams.
Yep.
Who I thought had a really good season, sharing the backfield, I think, with Melvin Gordon.
Yep.
But they've got Cortland Sutton, they've got Jerry Jeudy at wide receiver, and I think with Russell Wilson, an actual NFL quarterback to throw them the ball. I think they went 7-10 last year. They finished last in the AFC West. I mean, that's a tough division.
That division is going to be so interesting.
Between the Chiefs, of course, and now you've got Devontae Adams, in Las Vegas, and even the Los Angeles Chargers are a good team too. Like that is absolutely the most competitive division in football. And the Broncos are not going to be the runt of the litter.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be. I mean, they might still finish in last because of the quality of competition in the division, but I think that they are going to be better than they were last year.
The team that people around here are going to be paying a whole lot of attention to, especially because of the receiver that they just acquired, is the Eagles. With A.J. Brown coming in, Jalen Hurts, you got year 2 of Devontae Smith out of Alabama. Like, there's a lot of intrigue around the Eagles this year. And, I mean, look, you look at what they were able to do last year. Honestly, them going 9-8 last year I thought was pretty incredible. Now, they played in just a terrible division.
Yeah, whatever I just said about the AFC West is the opposite of the NFC East.
You got the Giants, who are going to be stumbling in here.
The Commanders,
on week 1.
I can't get behind the Commanders. I think they should have stuck with Washington football team.
The Washington football team?
I actually think it had a nice ring to it. I think, we were talking about Heinz Field yesterday and how, although it changed its name, it's going to be Heinz Field to a lot of people. I have a hard time, picturing people really getting behind the Commanders, calling them the Commanders unless they absolutely have to. I
have no problem doing it. I love it. The Commanders.
Washington football team, or just Washington. Like that's fine. It's such a, it's better than the alternative, as we know.
Well, there's reports out there for the Eagles part of this, and A.J. Brown tried to get on Twitter yesterday and shoot him down, but there's reports out there that Jalen Hurts has just not been very good so far this offseason.
Well, you know who their backup is. You know who their backup is.
Who is their backup?
Gardner Minshew, baby.
Oh yeah, it is.
They talk about gunslingers.
Oh man,
can you imagine Gardner Minshew throwing the ball to A.J. Brown?
Just throwing some seeds over there. Yeah.
Hey, if he can find some of that Minshew magic from Jacksonville,
that's right.
A.J. Brown is going to have the best season of his career.
615-737-1025. 615-737-1025. Who is your candidate for the biggest surprise in the NFL this season? We'll continue that discussion next. This is Robby and Rexrode on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Let's put the green flag in the air and turn them loose.
Nashville's home for NASCAR.
He's going to try to make a big move here.
It's brought to you by the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. We are your racing station.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
Discover matches all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year. Automatically. Discover. Something brighter. Learn more at discover.com/match.
The Electronic Express Summer Clearance Sale is here. This week, get a Samsung 65-inch 4K TV for $599 or a Frigidaire 4-piece kitchen package for $25.99. Save up to 50% off in every department at Electronic Express. Computers, appliances, 4K TVs, housewares, furniture, mattresses, and more. Don't miss out on an XPG gaming laptop for just $899 or a Whirlpool washer and dryer for $499 each. Shop in-store or online with free financing. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway. Now here's Jim Mitchell.
Our fleet vehicle program is a great benefit to all the fleet companies in Nashville. We are able to get their vehicle back on the road a lot quicker than the downtime of most dealers and most general repair shops, simply because we have the transmissions available. We're able to put priority on their vehicles to get them back on the road quickly.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway.
We here at 102.5 and 106.3 The Game are looking for our next great executive producer. Hey, it's Chase McCabe, the program director. If you think that's you and you think that you have the experience, the drive, and of course you share that love of sports, send your resume and cover letter to together@cromwellmedia.com.
This is an important notice to consumers facing $10,000 or more in credit card debt, medical bills, or other unsecured debt. You're not required to pay it all back because there are special programs now in effect that will significantly reduce the amount you will owe if you qualify. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. These programs, which the credit card companies like to keep secret, exist to aid American consumers struggling with overwhelming credit card debt by offering tremendous savings and real debt relief. Accredited Debt Relief has established a special hotline for you to call and learn what savings you qualify for. They've helped qualify consumers with over $1 billion in debt and are A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau. So don't wait. Get the relief you need during these hard economic times. For this free information, call the Accredited Debt Relief Hotline now. Call 800-249-8866. 800-249-8866. That's 800-249-8866.
I'll ring you up in a second. Kim, can you see if we have more acid wash?
Desmona's thrift store is the spot for killer vintage finds.
Oh, that looks fabulous on you. Hey, can you do the register?
But her sales clerk situation feels pretty threadbare.
Oh, yeah, let me clear out that fitting room.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Earn up to $500 in sponsored job credits by conducting interviews on Indeed. Visit Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
It's on. It's happening. Remember, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter.
Get out of the way. I'm watching a game.
Presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. We may now begin our day. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. We are live from the Hillside Medical Game Studio on this Tuesday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Scheduled to be joined by Philip Forsberg, Nashville Predators forward. Just re-signed with the Nashville Predators, coming up at 7:30. Looking forward to that conversation with him. Right now, taking your thoughts on all things NFL. Who is your candidate for the biggest surprise team in the NFL? 615-737-1025. Kyle on the text line says the Jaguars will be a big surprise. Great coach and Trevor Lawrence in his second year. I truly believe the Jags will be a solid team. I've said this before, Adam, but to me it's addition by subtraction. Like the Jags to me are going to be significantly better this year
because they don't have
based
Urban
on the
Meyer.
fact that they don't have Urban Meyer. Like
Yeah.
they went 3-14 last year. And I know they won the last game without him there against Indianapolis, which is still one of the greatest things ever. But Doug Peterson coming in, Doug Peterson has his flaws as a coach. It's not like it's, the second coming of Bill Belichick coming in there. But he is a Super Bowl champion. I do think he is a good coach. And more than anything, I think he's just professional. Like, it will be a much better environment down there in Jacksonville with Doug Peterson in there than it was with Urban Meyer. And I am interested from the Trevor Lawrence side of this. I mean, he's got all the ability in the world. Can he elevate them to 6-7 wins this year? Is that out of the realm of possibility? I mean, they were 3-14 a year ago. They've spent a lot of money in free agency. Some of it, I think, very stupidly, but they've spent a lot of money in free agency. How much better could they be? I'm interested to see how that plays out because, obviously, AFC South opponent, it's going to be Titans and Colts for the division. But which one of Houston and or Jacksonville could
Not
take
Houston,
a bigger step?
Sorry.
I think it's
know
probably
you're a
gonna be
big
Jackson.
Davis Mills guy, but it's not
Davis.
going to be.
Davis Mills is going to extend the window down there in Houston for them being.
Is that a neck joke?
It's a neck joke.
Well, one interesting part of this, if I recall correctly, is that Travis Etienne did not play last year, right?
That is correct.
And he'll be available this year.
Yep.
So that'll be interesting. Their wide receiving core. So their top three wide receivers and their starting tight end, according to ESPN, Christian Kirk, who signed a ridiculous contract in free agency,
Big money Christian Kirk,
Marvin Jones Jr., who I think was about to beat the crap out of Urban Meyer based on all those stories that came out. Zay Jones, who I think was also an interesting, putting it lightly, free agent signing, and Evan Ingram at tight end.
They spent some money.
But like, are any of those players any good? Like,
well, like Christian Kirk is a good player. He's just not worth, I don't think, $18 million.
No, I mean, he was what, was he the third receiver on Arizona?
Yeah, like, look, he came in here and he cooked the Titans last year, but everybody cooked the Titans in that game last year in week 1 for Arizona. Like,
yes,
Christian Kirk is a fine player. But the fact that they paid him as much money as they did is just,
I'm gonna pull up.
It's unbelievable.
I'm pulling up Christian Kirk's numbers here because I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, he's been good.
So last year he had 77 receptions on 103 targets, 982 yards, and 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, it's a good season.
Fine.
Yeah,
it's fine. But are they? If Christian Kirk is your number 1 wide receiver, like let me look at. I'm gonna look at Zay Jones here. Zay Jones had 47 receptions for 546 yards and a touchdown. So it's if like a good quarterback can elevate the game of a less than stellar wide receiver.
Yeah.
But and we know that Trevor Lawrence has excellent talent, for lack of a better phrase. But is he that talented that Christian Kirk is going to become a true number 1 target?
This is basically him starting over. Like it really is. Like, I'm not going to say he got nothing from last year, because I mean you're reading NFL defenses, you're out there, and you're gaining experience in games. But I mean, that coaching staff was just such a disaster last year. It's basically starting over if you're Trevor Lawrence. So the learning curve, maybe it's a little different. I don't know. Like, maybe he just comes out this year and lights it up. But look, I'm comfortable saying Jacksonville wins 5 games this year. Like, 5 is I will go to 5, and I could listen to 6. Much past that.
Go to 5 and listen to 6, and they had 3 last year.
Yeah.
Hey, they can rest on. We doubled our win total.
Right. Like, I could see that. I could see that happening this year. John on the text line says, "Don't sleep on the Jets. They won't win the division, but they will definitely take a huge step forward." The Jets.
I was thinking of another team in that division, actually. I was
Who's
thinking
that?
about the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Just because they have Tyreek Hill.
They do.
And he can make things happen. Because there is room to move in the AFC East, because the Patriots no longer have a stranglehold at the top of the division. That now belongs to the Buffalo Bills. But the other teams in that division, Miami, New England, and the New York Jets, are, there is, like I said, there is room to move and be that second best team. You've got
crazy stuff going on with Zach Wilson right now.
Yeah. I mean, they have some interesting they have some interesting names on their team. They've got Corey Davis, they've got Elijah Moore. They drafted Garrett Wilson. They took the tight end that played for Cincinnati, CJ Uzomah.
Yep.
He's there now too. So I have a little bit. I would give that nod to the Dolphins over the Jets, because I think I like what the Dolphins have on offense now, especially with Tyreek Hill in the fold. So I was thinking during the break, okay, what's the other team? And the Dolphins were my first thought after I mentioned the Broncos earlier, but I think the Dolphins would probably
it kind of feels like, and Tyreek Hill basically said this the other day, which is interesting. They came out publicly and said it, but it kind of feels like Tua's last chance to really grab a stranglehold. Like if the Dolphins go through another year and Tua's okay and they're just okay and they don't make the playoffs again, like, Tua's probably done in Miami would be my guess. Which is, what's it, his 3rd year?
That's
crazy to think about, but that's just the way things go in today's NFL. So
I didn't realize they had Raheem Mostert.
Oh, yeah.
That's interesting. You've got Tyreek Hill. You've got Jalen Waddle. They've got
their offense could be. I mean, you've got Mike McDaniel, the high school chemistry teacher, coming in as head coach.
Yes.
So, like, they're, to me, a really intriguing team. Their offense could be really good.
This is a really interesting running back depth chart. This is the running back depth chart according to ESPN. Chase Edmonds, Raheem Mostert, Sony Michel, and Myles Gaskin. Yeah, that's a really interesting. I mean, you've got three running backs with starting experience in your depth chart. So, they look like a team, and they have Xavier Howard on defense, and he's one of the best corners in the game. So, I think the AFC East is Buffalo's to lose, but Miami could certainly stake a claim to second place.
Dennis on the text line says, who's better, Christian Kirk or Robert Woods? I think I'd go Robert Woods.
I would go Robert Woods.
I know he's coming off the ACL, so that's why I stop and think about it, because you never know, I guess, exactly how they're going to respond. But, I mean, based on what they've done, I think it's clearly Robert Woods.
Yeah, when I saw that Christian Kirk signed that contract, and Jared makes this point a lot, that those numbers are inflated when they come out because it includes potential bonuses and stuff like that. So he's not actually making as much money as his announced contract is. Yeah. But it's still just a lot of money for a wide receiver that has had a solid NFL career, but not number one receiver type career. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens in Jacksonville this year, and maybe Trevor Lawrence makes that money worth it for Christian Kirk. But I'm skeptical.
Some of the comments on Zach Wilson on the text line are
I miss
pretty
this.
outstanding.
And I know this is somewhat inappropriate to talk about on the air. I think I know what's happening with Zach Wilson, but I don't know.
You know.
Apparently there's this is just out there. It's all over New York right now. Him having a relationship with one of his mother's friends, apparently, is a thing.
Nice. Good for you, Zach Wilson. You go, Glenn Coco.
Apparently, that's what's going on. I got a text that says, going with the Jets with Cougar Wilson leading them to a wild card spot.
Well, he's not the Cougar.
Man.
He's not the Cougar if he's after an older woman.
Good gracious.
How old is Zach Wilson?
He looks like he's
22
16,
maybe?
but I think he's 23, 24, yeah, somewhere around there.
Hey, if you're the starting quarterback of a team in New York and you can get a woman twice or more than twice your age, I mean, that if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. That's what they say about New York City. So. Or East Rutherford, New Jersey. I don't know.
Ryan in Nashville texting in says, Tampa will be a surprise team in a bad way. It's the same roster they've had since the Super Bowl with a new coach. Talk about
what's the situation? Well, so Tom Brady's back.
Yeah.
Rob Gronkowski retired.
He did.
Did Mike or is Chris Godwin back or did
he's
okay.
back.
So Chris
now he's coming off the ACL, so I don't know how quickly he's going to be ready
and
to
they
go.
Still have Mike Evans.
Yeah. They're going to be pretty good.
And is Leonard Fournette still the running back?
Yeah. They're going to be pretty good.
I think they'll be good. I'm not sure, if they'll win the Super Bowl, but I don't expect a huge step back from them for sure. I mean, who would have been their quarterback if Tom Brady actually stayed retired?
Well, could have gone with Kyle Trask, or they would have put themselves in the Deshaun Watson conversation. I don't know, but Kyle Trask, I guess.
Yeah, that would not have been good.
God, who was it that was their backup that Bruce Arians was talking about? I can't remember off the top of my head right now. But it was Blaine Gabbert.
Yeah, I was going to say, it was Blaine Gabbert.
He was like, hey, there's no difference between Blaine Gabbert and Tom Brady.
Look, when Blaine Gabbert had to start the win and get in game for the Tennessee Titans a few years ago, and you're like, well, there's no difference between Blaine Gabbert and Marcus Mariota. At least those two are closer than Blaine Gabbert and Tom Brady. Coming
up next, we'll be joined by Philip Forsberg, the man of the week here in Nashville, Tennessee. We'll get to that conversation next. This is Robby and Rexrode on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
If you're on the road between downtown Nashville,
they're still in good shape to make the playoffs,
and I-840.
Players make it clear they don't want to be somewhere anymore.
There's a new way to hear all your favorite shows and sports programming on 102.5 The Game.
I go back to that play and I shake my head. What I was worried about is that they were still just going to keep the goal.
It's 106.3 FM.
Think about all the good Titans teams. This is very much so a run-first offense.
Now you have two choices to hear Nashville's best sports talk. Check out 106.3 now and add it as a favorite.
There's no place like Panera. Enjoy a toasty sandwich served on fresh baked focaccia or a refreshing salad with sweet berries. Panera.
Hi guys, it's Andrew with Hillside Medical Clinic. Is erectile dysfunction damaging your relationship? Are you sick of the pill and all the side effects? Well, welcome to the future. We have a major medical breakthrough. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most advanced form of wave therapy. Backed by 60 clinical studies, our technology uses pressure waves to repair and open up blood vessels. We've helped countless men get rid of their ED. But what is the true end result? Their relationship, even their lives, improve drastically. If you're ready to regain your love life, call us right now, and not only will the assessment and ultrasound be free, we'll also give you a gift that produces immediate results in the bedroom. It almost never fails. This is worth $550, and it's free to callers right now. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and experience what I call the happiness ripple effect. Call Hillside Medical Clinic now, 615-576-5000.
Nerds. Here at NerdWallet, we often see people struggle with financial decisions, like with Helen. Hey, Helen.
Hello.
Helen, you're all over the place.
I'm trying to pick a rewards credit card, and I've ended up, well, everywhere.
With NerdWallet, you don't have to feel all over the place. NerdWallet has side-by-side comparisons of top credit cards. So whether you need a card for groceries or travel, the smartest card for you is right there.
Wow. Now I'm in one place with the right travel rewards card. Nice.
Nice indeed. NerdWallet, the smartest decision for all your financial decisions.
Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN.
Welcome into the DDC.
Stomach Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have two choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators.
Scores!
Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey, this is Roman Yossi. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley alongside Adam Vingan and Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Tuesday morning. It's been a big week for the Nashville Predators. They get their man, Filip Forsberg, signing an 8-year, $68 million contract. And we now go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in the man of the hour, Filip Forsberg. Filip, what's going on? How are you?
Hey, guys. I'm doing great. How are you guys?
We're great. Appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning. So, Filip, what's kind of this last week or so been like for you, signing the deal and the press conference yesterday and now trying to move ahead with the rest of your offseason here? What was it like to finally get this thing done?
No, it's been great. It's been a lot. It's been a lot going on, obviously, but it's been I'm very happy that we ended up getting this done, and obviously we're very excited to move ahead here.
What was the process like for you? Because you've been talking about this. I mean, I asked you about this last year at training camp, and it's been something that you've had to deal with in the media for a long time. But so just this whole process of you're playing last year, you're on an expiring contract, the negotiations to get to this point. What did you learn about all that, and how's it feel to finally be done with all that at this point?
No, I mean, it feels great. I remember telling you guys that I was considering sitting out the season, but I think it was good that I didn't pull that trigger. It worked out in my favor by playing.
I'd say so.
But it was, it was a fun season, obviously for the team. I thought the team took big steps from a little bit uncertain off season, and we moved along very nicely, I think. And personally, I mean, I think I obviously took another step in my development too, and that's no better time, I guess, to do it at that time too. But it's definitely going to be good to just keep playing and keep trying to improve without having that kind of talk like you mentioned in the background.
Filip, as you were kind of going through this process, what were some things that were important to you to make sure that this ultimately got done? And how important was just your experience with the Predators, of course the franchise itself, but also the city of Nashville, knowing that this is a place that you and your fiance have come to love? How important was that throughout the course of these discussions?
I mean, as a player, I guess you can say that there's three major things, and obviously it's the team, and it's the city, and it's the fans. At least that's the way I look at it. And there's obviously certain things that comes into play on top of that, but those are the main three. And you can check the box on all three of those. Obviously, Nashville, and like you said, we love Nashville. We think it's a great city. We met there obviously a handful of years ago now, and we've obviously kind of turned into our home, which is cool, and that's not going to change for the next 8, hopefully, which is a great feeling to have. And at the end of the day, that was the plan all along, and now we want to get to work and try to bring a championship to the city.
Filip Forsberg joining us here on Robby and Rexrode. Filip, Adam Vingan here. Good to talk to you. As you just said, you get a contract with a full no movement clause through the first 6 years. And you said it yesterday as well, that it was important for you and your fiance to be able to have that security, to know that you're going to be here so that you can plant roots and take the next steps in your relationship and start a family. I'm also curious about how much the trades of Victor Arvidsson and Ryan Ellis played into that decision, because they, like you, were core players for this team who signed long-term contracts expecting to be members of this team for that long, whether it was 7 years for Victor, 8 years for Ryan, and ultimately that didn't happen, and they were traded to different teams. If at all, did that play a role in wanting to make sure that you absolutely had that security in your contract to know that that would not happen to you?
I mean, we never brought those two guys' names up, but at the end of the day, you see players get traded all the time to different teams, and like I said, it's definitely something that was important to us early on in negotiating to getting that taken care of. And like you said, we've seen it firsthand without really bringing those situations up. It was pretty clear early on that we did want that to be the case, and we're very happy that we were able to get that to work.
Philip Forsberg on with us here on Robby and Rexrode.
Philip, what was on the itinerary for your bachelor party?
I bet you want to know that.
Yes, I do.
It was a good time. So I guess we had a good time. It was my friends did a great job setting it all up, or not all up. We all put it together obviously, but it was great. We had a really good time, and yeah, there's a little bit of recovery needed, but I feel better now.
Where were you when you signed the contract? I believe, a member of your agency tweeted out a picture when the deal was official of you signing it on it looked like on a sidewalk cafe, perhaps. Where were you when you actually put ink to paper?
So that was in Stockholm on Sunday morning after we had got back. So, and he got back even later because he came from Montreal for the draft. So he was 2 hours, I think, away from the airport. At least we got the night before, and I stayed over at a friend's place, and then we got that done and fitted in a wedding suit trial before too. So there's been a lot going on, I'll tell you that.
Yep, that's a big couple of weeks for you. So Philip, obviously with the contract behind you now, you brought up your season from a year ago. Obviously big numbers, over 40 goals, 84 points last season. What do you make of the step that you were able to take last year on the ice, and how do you try to replicate that and even improve on that as you move forward now?
I think that's been something that I've had in me for a while, to be honest with you, and why I haven't been able to do it. I don't know. I would have obviously changed something at that point, but I think it's just it is a bit of a maturing process. I mean, you come into this league and you're excited to play, and you figure things out as you go, and then. Yeah, it gets, like I said, it never gets easier whether you think it should or not. I mean, it gets harder. There's new players coming in. Everything changes. Your role changes on the team, and the team changes, obviously. So I think for me, it's been a constant growing process of just trying to, become better as a player overall. I guess, obviously, scoring and producing offensively is always and will always be my number one strength, I guess. But at the same time, I feel like I've grown into being a way more complete player, playing a lot of minutes on the other side of the puck now too, especially in the playoffs. We're matched up against obviously the big boys for the Avs there, with playing almost every shift against McCarr, and like that's challenging, but it's something that I've taken more pride in, and I think that's definitely helped my game overall too. You get more trust from your coaches and your teammates, and then ultimately you're on the ice more. And I think that's something that kind of gets lost a little bit in the fact of all the stats, obviously, and that's something that I do want to keep improving on going forward as well.
Philip, you mentioned the Avalanche, of course, ultimately winning the Stanley Cup, and you and your teammates got a firsthand look at how dominant they could be in the first round. I don't know if you continued to watch the Stanley Cup playoffs once your season was over, but seeing how the Avalanche made it through and ultimately won the championship, I guess what impressed you the most about that team? And this is a team that you've seen grow too, a team that when they faced the Predators and in the Stanley Cup playoffs in 2018, they looked like they were ready to take that next step, and ultimately they did. So what did you see from the Avalanche? What most impressed you about their run, if you watched it?
I honestly didn't watch any playoff hockey at all after we were done. It's just one of those things that you know somebody's going to win, and I'll just let them do it. I don't really want to watch anything. And I mean, but just from playing the Avs in our series, it was obviously they're a better team, and clearly they were the best team in the league this year. And but I think what impressed me the most is kind of like, obviously their top players are top in the world. I mean, like I mentioned, McCarr and McKinnon, and even a player like Rantanen turning into almost their best forward in the playoffs. I mean, he had a really good run, and I think, but what impressed me the most, I think, is their overall, just the depth of the team. I mean, they just rolled 4 lines. I mean, from what I've gathered, basically through the whole playoffs, every player stepped up at different moments, and that's kind of how it has to be. I mean, it reminded me a little bit of when we went to the finals there. We had the same kind of feeling in our team. Every player contributed, whether it was the first line or the fourth line or even the Black Aces coming in playing big roles. And I think they obviously had a way more skilled and better team than we did that year. But it was kind of the same mentality that it wasn't just McKinnon every game or McCarr every game. It was Lehkonen or it was that O'Connor kid. It was like they had a good depth, and clearly that's what made them so successful.
Philip Forsberg on with us here on Robby and Rexrode. So, Philip, to that point, in terms of building the depth, you brought up the Ryan McDonagh trade a couple of different times yesterday. What does a move like that signal to players on your team, bringing in a guy that's a 2-time Cup champion and has been as consistently really good of a shutdown defenseman as McDonagh has been? What does that do for you guys?
No, I mean, it does a lot. I mean, like I said, especially going into last season, you weren't really sure what direction this franchise is going to take with, like I said, some of the moves we made. And then credit to all the guys on the team, we steered the ship back in the right direction. That could have gone either way, and we made an uncertain situation into a good season. I mean, we made the playoffs and had exceptional performances from many individual players, and kind of put, like I said, the team back on track. And now this move, trading for an older, but like you said, very still elite defenseman, in my opinion. That's something that you want as a player in the middle trying to get to the middle of your prime. You want to see that commitment from the team. It's different if we have him and we trade him away for a pick or something. Then, like I said, we're trending the wrong direction. But in my opinion, that shows that we're here to compete again, and that's what me and obviously the other core players in our team, we all want to win, and that's what we have to do.
So, Philip, last thing here for you, as you look ahead to this season with training camp coming up here in a few weeks, what's going to be for the kind of that next step to be taken from you guys? What do you think that's going to require from your group heading into the season? Obviously, with the picture still not finished, we think, and maybe some more guys being added to your team later this week.
I think we have to keep doing the things that we did. I mean, started with since Heinze came in, we were obviously transitioned into a different type of team than we might have been with Laviolette, and I think that's something that we've gotten better and better at. Obviously, the half season there, we fought all the way till the end and somehow made the playoffs, even though we had a pretty bad start. And then last year was another step in the right direction, more building on that foundation of hard work and grit and physicality, but also adding more of an offensive identity to our team that I think was better last year. But I do think that's steps that we have to keep taking. Obviously, the core group of players we have to get back or higher to the level we were last year, and all the young guys need to take another step as well. And we got a lot of exciting prospects and players that were getting their feet wet last year, but as you know, like, you need those players to take the next step. You need players on entry level or small deals to overperform with this salary cap era, and I definitely think we have the possibility for that.
Well, Philip, I can tell you the city is very excited that you've decided to re-sign here with the Predators. We appreciate so much you taking time to join us. Congratulations on the new contract. Congrats on the marriage coming up here in a couple of weeks, and we'll talk to you here in a few weeks, my friend.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys. Enjoy your summer.
Absolutely. Thanks, Philip Forsberg, our guest here on Robby and Rexrode. We'll take your thoughts, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. We'll react to Philip Forsberg. We'll get to the Rob rant coming up next as well. This is Robby and Rexrode here on 1025, 1063, The Game.
Checker flag,
Join Chase McCabe for Chasing Checkers every Sunday morning at 8 for all the news in the world of motorsports.
Joey Logano gets the very first victory in the next-gen car
while hearing from the big names.
Two-time champion Kyle Busch.
Being able to bring NASCAR, the Cup Series, back to Nashville is cool.
It's Chasing Checkers, presented by Apple Collision Centers and the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway.
On ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Slightly warmer start this morning. It's going to be more of a humid day. That high of 94 is going to feel like 101. A few storms will be possible this evening.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Listen to Stillman & Company with me, Caroline Fenton, all season long on ESPN 102.5 The Game for your chance to win Nashville Sounds tickets courtesy of 312 Pizza Company in Germantown.
This is a big month for some of our teammates at Cromwell Media. At 102.5, 106.3 The Game, producer Kenny Adams is celebrating a 10-year anniversary. Also at The Game, morning show producer Michelle Knezovic and part-time producer Nick Keyser are both crossing the one-year mark. At 102.9 The Buzz, Eric Steele, our rock star evening host, and Andy Herron, a part-time host, have been with us for 8 years. We are Cromwell Media and proud of our employees who commit themselves to excellence every day. Want to join our team? Contact us at together@cromwellmedia.com.
Our diamonds are direct from the source, direct from the cutters. There's no middlemen, there's no markup.
Meet Ben Wilkes, 10-year jewelry professional at Genesis Diamonds.
We've got everything from half a carat all the way up to 15 carats and everything in between. So I never have to go looking for something.
And if you're in search of that one-of-a-kind designer ring,
lots of times they come in and she's got a very specific picture, something that she wants, and she's shocked and amazed when I go right to a case and pull exactly what she's been looking at out.
And beyond the best price and selection, every customer at Genesis gets one-on-one personal attention with no hidden agenda.
Every customer that I've ever worked with has my personal cell phone number. It doesn't come from an automated system. It is person-to-person interaction. We're not on commission, so what that means is regardless of what you buy or don't buy, I'm paid the same.
Genesis Diamonds.
Here you get more, you get bigger, better, you get prettier. The quality, the selection, transparency, customer service, it can't be touched. It's unmatched.
Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Tennessee First Lady Maria Lee.
Every year, there are 20,000 children in Tennessee who have been abused or neglected. CASA volunteers provide crucial support in speaking up for these kids and supporting them in their search for a safe, loving, and permanent home. CASA volunteers can be the caring, consistent adult in a child's life who can make all the difference. To connect with a CASA program in your area, go to beforthechild.org.
Brought to you by Tennessee CASA in cooperation with the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Welcome to Allstate, where saving on your auto insurance is kind of like a joyride. You, your car, and an open Tennessee road. Maybe your best friend, too. The music is chill, and so is the traffic. You and your friend both look over at each other, and then he puts his head back out the window. Allstate. Here, better protection costs a whole lot less. You're in good hands with Allstate. Click, call, or visit allstate.com to save today.
Allstate and affiliates offer products and services subject to availability, terms, and conditions.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. Thinking about gas mileage? Quality oil like Valvoline Full Synthetic can help you get more out of every mile. Right now, you can get 5 quarts with an STP Extended Life Oil Filter for only $36.99. Got an older vehicle? Try Valvoline Full Synthetic High Mileage options. Get what you need for better fuel efficiency at any of our 6,200 stores or on AutoZone.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Darren McFarland.
I feel like we're a better playoff team.
Willie Donick.
You're in a window of a division you can win.
Chase McCabe.
I'm not signing him for more than $1 million.
The DDC. Weekdays from 10 to 2.
Presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app. The time is now for the Rex Rant.
Sounds like somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
On Robby and Rexrode, here on ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
comes the sun.
And it is that time of the day, time for the Rob Rant here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
It's alright.
I just start smiling every time I hear this song now.
Aren't you supposed to play a song you don't like?
Yeah, I don't like this song.
Oh.
It's the Beatles. I don't like any
Robbie
song they
hates
have.
the Beatles.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about that.
I like this song.
I'm not a huge Beatles fan either. And that's not because I don't
Good.
think
Let's pile on. Come on.
Well, I don't know if I have the same distaste for them as you do. I appreciate, their place in music history. Their music is just not for me.
Yeah, because it's not good. That's what I'm saying. That's what I've said the whole time.
I think
I don't deny the, I guess, impact is the right word that they've had on music.
Tremendous impact.
I have, look, yeah. First off, people way smarter than me know more about that stuff, so that's fine. I just don't think they're good. So
he's just more
that's
interested
kind of been my thing the whole time.
in like the 1D British boy band.
Oh yeah,
really
big fan of One Direction. I've got some T-shirts at the house. Big fan. One Direction greater than the Beatles.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah.
Well, like that's the same thing with Rexrode. Like Rexrode, like
I don't know if I can say that with a straight face anymore. It's
like,
not good.
Like who's Rexrode's favorite band? Hall & Oates?
Creed. But yeah, Hall & Oates.
Yeah, like they're fine. It's just I'm not a classic rock guy, so I don't have anything against Hall & Oates, but I wouldn't choose to listen to them if I had an option. But anyway.
All right, so my rant's going to make some people mad today, but I don't really care because it's
Isn't
Twitter.
that the point of a
it's
rant?
It's Twitter, man. Just have some fun with it. So, look, Jared Stillman yesterday, he went off and he made some people on Pred's Twitter mad yesterday, which he has been wont to do, as you like to say.
Yes.
So we talked about this a little bit earlier in the show. So Jared goes on the show yesterday, and prior to his show yesterday, he was online on the Zoom at the press conference with David Poyle and Philip Forsberg, and he basically asked David Poyle a question about, Poyle said in his opening statement there was no plan, B, C, or D. The plan was always to sign Philip Forsberg all along, which I think you and I since then have said, well, what's he going to say after they've got the contract figured out? They're going to go into explicit detail about the specific plans that they had to sign free agents if Forsberg didn't sign? No, of course he wasn't going to do that. But Poyle did say that yesterday after saying while the negotiations were going on that there was a plan B and C and D that they had to come up with. And, of course, there's always posturing that goes on there when these negotiations take place. So Jared asked David Poyle about that yesterday. David Poyle gave kind of a funny answer to Jared about, well, don't you know the agents listen to everything that I say, Jared? So, yes, there's some posturing that goes on in those answers. So, look, I was on the Zoom press conference. I thought the question was fine by Jared. I didn't think it was really that big of a deal. But people were mad on Twitter yesterday. And, look, believe me, as somebody who texts with Jared Stillman often, and I feel like I always have to throw out this disclaimer because I think people think that sometimes, like Joe and I, really don't like Jared. But I do. I like Jared a lot. Jared is a friend of mine, so I enjoy Jared Stillman. But my complaint and rant here today is this. I have no doubt, and believe me, I've been there, Jared says some stuff and does some stuff sometimes where I'm just like, hey, man, shut up. Like, what are you talking about here? Stop. But if you're going to tweet about him on Twitter, can we stop the subtweeting stuff? Like I saw, Martell did it yesterday. Doherty did it a little bit yesterday. Like, can we stop the subtweeting with Jared Stillman? Either tag him and have a conversation with him on Twitter, or stop talking about him. One of the two. But the subtweeting that takes place at Jared Stillman's expense is funny. And now I feel like
you've got me in a place where I have to stand up for Jared.
Oh, that's the thing. Like I feel bad, but like there was so much subtweeting of Stillman going on yesterday, and I'm like, believe me, I totally understand him saying things that make you mad and upset you. But just stop the subtweeting. Just tag him. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
All you gotta do is tag him.
Social media can get a bit catty, and I know a bit, and I know that Paul Kaharski, who will be on the show tomorrow,
correct?
Started a firestorm of sorts when he was on with you and Joe, and that led to an interesting level of discourse on Nashville sports media Twitter for a little while, and Jared is an acquired taste for many, but let's call it like it is. Jared is not for everybody.
He said as much yesterday.
Yes,
on his
Jared
program.
is not for everybody, but Jared is good at what he does.
Yes.
He would not be in the position that he is in if he was not good at his job. And there are things that Jared says that drive me nuts, and there are things that he texts me that drive me nuts. But I think that Jared does a good job at hosting an afternoon drive radio show in a popular market. And there are going to be people that disagree with him just because it's him saying it. Yeah. Like him and it's funny because I think yesterday on the show I was listening a little bit where a lot of their conversation was about whether or not the Predators are a better team with all of the moves they've made so far. And at one point he played a clip of our conversation and basically said, well, when I say it, it's doom and gloom, but when Adam says it, you people seem to agree, and people don't always agree with me, obviously. But I know that Jared is an easy target. He puts himself out there. He's bombastic, and it makes
That's a big word.
Yes, it makes it easy to launch social media grenades at Jared. But yes, no subtweeting. That's the rule.
Just
no
tag him.
subtweeting.
That's all I'm asking. You can yell at him all you want, but just tag him. The subtweeting has got to stop. All right, that's about 6 minutes of us somewhat defending Jared. That's probably enough. It's probably enough.
No, let's make fun of him. Let's make fun of him. For a minute.
I do feel like we have to overcompensate or something now. So I do want to ask you this because you brought up the Kaharski discussion that we had last week. Do you find Preds media to be soft and or homerish from your perspective?
No, this is always a really you have to walk a Joe on vacation texts me and says, stop being so fake nice to Jared. Joe, go back to being on vacation. Everyone thinks that you disappeared.
Joe, get off your phone.
Yeah, Joe, get off your phone. Go spend time with your children. Look, I said this with Caroline a couple of weeks ago, that Kaharski was reared in a different era of journalism. I don't know Paul's life story in terms of how he started to where he got today, but my assumption is that he probably he had to do a lot of the grunt work. He had to sit at the desk at the newspaper, taking calls on high school football scores and filling the agate page, and then he had to work his way up to get to where he is today. You and I, we had very similar paths to where we are, yep. And we came up in a different era where all you needed was an internet connection and a blog to make your voice heard.
Yeah.
And a lot of people on the Predators media row, Justin Bradford, Chris Martell, Alex Doherty, Michael Gallagher, Jeremy Gover, they started that way too. And I think that this media group has grown significantly, and not like in terms of size, it has as well, but I mean in terms of getting that experience. I do think that I think one thing that has hurt Nashville as a market is that there isn't that strong columnist voice. Like a lot of this is not. I mean, I love Joe. I love Joe, and he's going to text me now and say that I'm insulting him. But I love Joe, and I really like Gentry, and I think they do a really good job. But a lot of markets have that established voice in print. I'm not talking about on radio. I'm talking about in print.
Well, some of them are crazy too.
Yes, yeah. In print that have been in the market for 20, 30 years. We don't have that here. David Clymer was that voice for a long time, but we don't have that as much here, and I think that kind of leads to the perception of that we are quote unquote soft. Joe Texan again and says, "Got to take the boys to high school football practice and enjoy your voices. Sounds great, other than terrible Beatles commentary."
We love you, Joe.
We love you, Joe.
We love you, Brennan.
Hi, Brennan.
Yes. Hi, Rexrode children. Tell your dad to get off his phone. Tell your dad he's dog water.
Jesus, derailed quickly.
Yes. But no, that's just my point, is that I think the Predators media group as a whole has really grown in its ability to cover this team, since I've been here. And although I'm not officially a part of it anymore, I certainly have been impressed by the steps that a lot of them have taken in their career since I got here.
Okay, so good. Now people can yell at me later for stop subtweeting Jared Stillman. That'll be fun. Looking forward to that. 615-737-1025.
Speaking of looking forward to.
615-737-1025. Speaking of looking forward to, Greg Wyshynski from ESPN coming up next. We'll preview NHL free agency with him just 1 day away from the big day in the NHL. That's next. This is Robby and Rexrode on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Heads up. 106.3 FM is a new way to hear 102.5 The Game from downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and on I-24 to Murfreesboro. Make sure you have that preset on your radio dial. We're making it even easier to listen to Nashville's best sports talk.
This is going to be awesome. It's like, yes.
Tune in to 106.3.
That's what makes this team better.
And hear the difference.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Summer heat is here. How is your air conditioner holding up? Costs are rising everywhere. Grocery bills, gas bills, utility bills, you name it, up, up, up. Is your AC old, inefficient, and costing more than it should? Interest rates are rising, but not at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Qualified buyers have up to 72 months. No interest for a new York air conditioner and 6 months no interest for repairs. That's at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. All new systems come with a 10-year parts and labor warranty. That's at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, a York certified comfort expert company. Schedule now at springhillac.com.
Erectile dysfunction ruins sex, but it's more than that. It harms otherwise good relationships. It destroys marriages. It can cause depression and anxiety, and it can be extremely hard on a man's self-esteem. This is Kim for the Tennessee Men's Clinic. And if you're suffering with ED, if it's affecting you, I want you to know that if you're like most men, we can treat it and get you back to the man you used to be. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we're ED experts. Our protocols have success rates as high as 90%. We've successfully treated thousands of men in the Music City, and we have a variety of treatment options and treatment combinations that could have you performing like you haven't in years. You could even last up to an hour and experience great sex again that is satisfying for both you and your partner. In treating your health, expertise matters, so make an appointment today. Your initial appointment is only $99 and includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra. Results vary.
Is your mattress keeping you up all night? Tossing and turning? Needing a new mattress but don't know where to go? Well, shop at Social Furniture today, where they sell comfort. They have all of the top brands like Sealy, Stearns & Foster's, Simmons, Serta, and Purple Mattress. Social Furniture offers sofa beds, loft beds, twin beds, queen beds, king beds, kids beds, and beds for your whole family. There's no waiting, and they have same-day delivery. Visit Social Furniture in West Nashville at 5412 Charlotte Avenue. Forget the big box store. Shop local. Shop social.
Your company's hiring. Who isn't? We would love to show you how to use 102.5 The Game to attract and retain employees. We can also help you find the exact person you're looking for with a targeted digital campaign. You can trust our team to help you build your team. Email us at together@cromwellmedia.com.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. So you have to drive 300 miles to your cousin's wedding. Okay, so it's his fourth. But you know what they say, fourth time's the charm. Well, here's the problem. Your tires are as bald as I am. But lucky for you, eBay Motors has tires for just about every make and model. Plus wheels, lug nuts, jack stands, and more. 122 million parts. Do they have tissues? Oh, good, because I'm definitely a crier. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors. Let's ride.
If this were a Reese's TV ad, you'd be staring at a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. And sure, my voice is peanut buttery smooth, but still, you need to see the peanut butter cups, right? No? I can really just say Reese's and you'll go get some? Okay, Reese's. 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 Really working, actually. Reese's. Reese's. I'm on to something. Reese's. Reese's. Reese's.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
NASCAR is back. Kyle Larson returns to Nashville Speedway, a winner.
Nashville's exclusive home for NASCAR.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
The leading receiver.
Awesome Game 7.
Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive. This is Robby and Rexrode. With with Robby Stanley and Joe Rexrode on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen,
it's showtime.
Hour number 3, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley alongside Adam Vinkin and Michelle Knezvik here with you on this Tuesday morning. NHL free agency is almost upon us. And to help us talk more about that, we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in our good friend Greg Wyshynski from ESPN. Greg, what's going on? How we doing?
I'm doing good, man. It should be an interesting 48 hours as we approach the chaos of tomorrow and all the moves that lead up to it.
Yep, it's going to be pretty fascinating. So, Greg, obviously the news of the week here in Nashville is Filip Forsberg re-signing an 8-year contract worth $68 million. What did you make of that deal, both from the Preds' point of view and with Filip Forsberg's side of things as well?
Well, I mean, I love it from the Preds' point of view. I think that he's an essential player for them. I think that he's going to be good for the majority of that contract. It's sort of baffling that it took as long as it did to end up where it did. But I think it all worked out for the best for Nashville. I mean, the Forsberg part of it is tough to figure, because I think that if he went to the open market, there was going to maybe be even more money for him there, to be honest with you, based on some of the positioning that was going to happen with these teams and based on what he's able to do. But at the end of the day, like I've said for years, players want to stay where their stuff is, and his stuff is in Nashville. So it all works out in the end.
So to that point, you've got Johnny Gaudreau still with no contract with the Flames, and he's obviously kind of the big fish in the free agency picture this year. I mean, we're a day away at this point. How do you see this playing out for Johnny Gaudreau? And if he goes to the open market, what do you think he's worth?
Well, he's going to be worth anywhere between $9.5 and over $10 million per season. The latest I heard from Calgary is that they have a deal on the table for $9.5. That may or may not be true. You never know exactly what the information you're getting is at this point in the season, whether it's real or not. But I was really struck when I was at the NHL draft by the optimism from their GM, Brad Treliving, with regard to Gaudreau and those negotiations. Like I kind of figured with it being this late in the process that he might be gone. But, they're still talking. He believes that there's mutual affinity for him staying in the market. I had somebody tell me the other day they thought that Treliving at the draft was just trying to save face. I had somebody tell me the other day that he thinks that maybe Gaudreau is not finding what he thought he'd find on the open market, in these negotiations that, of course, aren't happening now because it's illegal, but are totally happening. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, the team that obviously we're all watching is the Philadelphia Flyers. They do have some cap maneuverability vis-a-vis, a buyout for Oscar Lindblom, the possibility of trading James Van Riemsdyk. You do those two things, you're in pretty good financial position, at least for next season, to try to bring in Gaudreau. So I think that team remains sort of the canary in the coal mine. If the Flyers start doing some things to get a lot more room under the cap, we can assume that wheels are in motion with Gaudreau. If not, I think the Calgary situation is real, and the fact that it's gone this long isn't necessarily indicative of it being bad news for Calgary. I just think that it's one of these deals where they are clearly looking for the beginning of free agency and their ability to give this guy an 8-year contract as a pressure point in negotiations.
Does his stuff is there theory work if Johnny Gaudreau plays for his hometown team, because some of his stuff is there? His childhood stuff is there? Does that count?
The stuff is there. Theorem does have an amendment because that's what happened with John Tavares.
Right.
John Tavares' stuff was on Long Island, but it was also in Toronto. The bed sheets, his childhood bed. Yeah, right. So yeah, I think there's always going to be that caveat. And again, like the Flyers, the Devils, there's been a lot of talk about whether the Islanders can create room for him. I think all those three metropolitan teams could be in the Johnny Gaudreau business. But ultimately, I think Calgary is a really big player here. And then we're all sort of just wondering if there might be a dark horse team that we're not considering. Like the Seattle Kraken are sitting over there with mountains of cap space and the want and need to make a splash in year two. And I think we're all waiting to see if that manifests into something for a guy like Gaudreau. But I think ultimately it's probably going to be, the East Coast versus Calgary for Gaudreau in the next couple of days.
Greg Wyshynski of ESPN joining us here on Robby and Rexrode. Greg, the Pittsburgh Penguins announced a major signing last night, a 6-year, $30 million contract for Rickard Rakell. What is going on with Evgeny Malkin in Pittsburgh, and why are the Penguins playing hardball with one of the greatest players in their history?
Well, they're playing hardball because I think they're taking a realistic view on Malkin, and it's a tough thing to do when he's a franchise icon. He's a former MVP in the regular season and the playoffs. He's synonymous with the Penguins during the Crosby run. He's part of the Holy Trinity with Crosby and Letang there that's, been there for all 3 cups. I think they're taking the hard line because they know that this guy can't play more than 55 games in a season. They know that the way he plays means that he's going to continue to be a defensive liability as defense has slipped remarkably in the last few years. And at some point, the injuries and all of it are going to make this guy latter-day Joe Thornton and probably make him that during the duration of this contract. So, that's the bottom line with Evgeny Malkin is that, I think that they thought 3 years is the most they would go with him. They never put a 4th year on the table. He thinks he can get a 4th year out of somebody else. Godspeed. I understand Penguins fans saying, well, where are you going to find another point-per-game player that can play center? And I agree, it ain't going to be easy. But you might be able to find a guy that can play 82 games, which is something that Malkin can't do right now. And I think that's part of the equation, too. So they've made a tough decision. They knew exactly the contract they wanted to give him, given where he is at this point in his career. And I think that it's clearly going to cause some problems, probably behind the scenes with Sid. And I think it's going to obviously cause some problems within the fan base that see the Penguins spending money that otherwise would be earmarked on Malkin on other players that don't exactly do some of the things that he's still capable of doing.
I know that you and I would both root for the chaos of getting Malkin signing with the Washington Capitals.
Oh, yeah.
Of course. That'd be the greatest end result. I mean, the Capitals are in kind of a weird space.
Right, with Backstrom.
Yeah, Nick Backstrom had hip resurfacing surgery, which, again, if you look at the guys that have had that surgery and them coming back to play, it's not always the prettiest situation. But they feel obligated to keep that cap space open for Nick because they do expect him back at some point this season. And, I think it's $9.5 million of money that you really can't do much with at this point. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, Malkin and Ovechkin have that connection, and the Capitals do have a want and need for a center at this point to play ahead of or behind Kuznetsov. So that's a natural fit. I mean, geographically, lineup-wise, and then obviously for all of us, the chaos of it all.
Yes.
So, I mean, I wouldn't close the door on that possibility with him, apparently not going back to Pittsburgh.
Greg, with free agency opening tomorrow, this is a 2-part question. First part, which free agent player's contract are you most fascinated to see when it's all said and done? And the second part is, which player is going to sign the most instantly regrettable contract?
I'm really interested to see what Nazem Kadri gets on the open market. I mean, he is a little bit older. I think he's 31. He's coming off a career year like he's never had before offensively. But he also had 4 rounds of playoff hockey for the most part that really was a great advertisement for what he's able to do on both ends of the ice and the tenacity with which he plays. So, I think there's going to be a robust market for him as a guy that can come in and play center. I'm fascinated to see where it's going to be. You're going to have some contending teams as possibilities, the Rangers being one of them, Boston being another. You're going to have some teams like Seattle and Detroit that are a little bit farther away from contention, but might want to sign him to be a number 1 center while they wait for some of their younger players to kind of cycle through. So that's the one I'm fascinated by. Regrettable, I mean, they're all going to be regrettable at the end of the day. Rare is the UFA contract. It's not. But I'm not the biggest guy on John Klingberg, to be honest with you. I hesitate to say that because if Carolina is as hot for him as they seem to be, that's a really smart front office. So maybe I'm missing something on the defensive side of the ice because I think that's where he's a bit of a liability. But then again, you look at the 2 teams that are in the market for him right now. One is Carolina that could easily just throw him with Slavin. And as we saw with Tony DeAngelo, that can cover up a lot of your problems defensively. And then if it's Seattle, who's also, I think, really in on Klingberg, they can repair him with Jamie Alexiak, who he played with in Dallas. So I think someone's going to throw a bunch of money at him, maybe more than he should get. But in certain cases, it might be strategically smart because they are going to be able to manage the biggest liability in his game better than most.
Greg, last thing for you here. It's pretty obvious the Blackhawks are going into tank. What do you think is going through the mind of Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane, and how do you see all that playing out?
Well, it's a tug of war, right? Like I think both of those guys have spoken about an affinity for playing with the same team throughout their entire career. And in order to do that, they're going to have to play through a few years of absolute pain because they're stripping this thing down to the nuts and bolts, right? So ultimately, it's hard to imagine two really competitive guys wanting to remain there through all of this. But at the same time, I mean, you know, we don't really know what's going on behind the scenes as far as the comfortability of living in a city for as long as they have, their dedication to the franchise and all of that. So we'll see what happens. And I think the other part of it too, obviously, is that, you know, we don't know what's being told to them behind the scenes. I mean, like, for example, you look at the Rangers rebuild. I mean, they were able to luck out in the lottery a couple times, get a couple free agents, and then all of a sudden they're right back at it. What is the timeline being sold to them look like for this to happen? Is it going to be 4 years? Is it going to be 2 years? I mean, I'm not quite sure. So I think that's going to play a factor in it too. But I mean, ultimately, it's hard to imagine two guys with that much professional pride going through the motions for a rebuilding team that could, at this point, based on the amount of young players they shipped out, be a 3-year process.
Greg, certainly going to be interesting. Appreciate so much you taking time to join us this morning.
Yeah, anytime. Thanks for having me. That's
Greg Wyshynski, our guest here from ESPN on Robby and Rexrode. We'll take your thoughts on NHL free agency, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Attention men, have you been struggling with erectile dysfunction? Well, Hillside Medical Clinic has a breakthrough treatment for ED that does not require any pills, injections, or surgery. And right now, Miles joins me from Hillside Medical Clinic to tell us all about it. Miles, what's going on?
Oh, you know, just getting the word out, because for 30 years we've had the pill. We've had all its side effects, and Harvard even reported that it doesn't even work on 30% of men. Past those options, we have surgery with long recovery times or needles to treat erectile dysfunction. Well, that has all changed because now we have a technology, not a pill, and it's called acoustic wave therapy. The machine itself sort of looks like a small ultrasound machine. It's placed on the skin where gentle pressure waves travel through the skin into the blood vessels, causing them to expand, oftentimes repair themselves, and allow for more blood flow. And blood flow is the name of the game when you're treating erectile dysfunction.
So, Miles, what kinds of clinical studies have been done on this wave therapy technology?
Well, go ahead and log on to bridgesidemedicalclinic.com, hit the science tab. You're going to find 60 independent placebo-controlled studies. Cambridge has studied this. The Cleveland Clinic has studied this. They've all called it safe and effective. Some have even called it the new standard of care for treatment of ED.
And, Miles, you got a special offer if our listeners call in right now.
We do, guys. Pick up the phone. Give us a call right now because we'll include the exam, assessment, and blood flow ultrasound. That's all free. Plus, I have an additional gift for the next 20 callers. Provides powerful results in the bedroom. You're going to get that for free as well. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain by calling us right now.
You heard, guys. Put a stop to your erectile dysfunction by treating the root cause of the problem. Call Hillside Medical Clinic right now to qualify for that offer at 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Put a stop to your ED and regain your love life. Call Hillside Medical Clinic right now at 615-576-5000.
And here we go! Every Tuesday at 11.
The Music City Grand Prix is green!
The DDC will get you set for the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix by talking to some of IndyCar's best drivers.
Joseph Newgarden. It's a great event. Everyone has a great time at it. The second year, I think, will be better than the first.
Weekly driver interviews are presented by Social Furniture, where we sell comfort. Shop local, shop social at 5412 Charlotte Avenue, and by the Nashville Sheriff on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
If you're driving less, you could be saving more on car insurance. Save money with pay-per-mile insurance from Allstate. Call a local Allstate agent and get a quote.
Golfers, swing into Edwin Watts Golf Shops for the hottest new arrivals from Cobra, featuring the new LTDX drivers, engineered for the longest total distance with extreme forgiveness. Internal weights create the power core, and hot face technology delivers faster ball speeds at every contact point. 4 drivers to fit every golfer's needs. Swing by Edwin Watts Golf Shops and get custom fit today. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee, and shop us online at worldwidegolfshops.com.
To know what makes Genesis Diamonds so special, you have to understand its origin. Back when owner Boaz Ramon used to sell diamonds only to jewelry stores.
I was selling to more than 700 jewelry stores. I didn't like what I saw.
What he saw in retail stores was grossly inflated prices, limited selection, pricing games, and a sales process that put the customer at a disadvantage. And it motivated this wholesaler to start his own retail revolution.
My passion was to build a place where the customer is going to be very informed. We're not going to hide any information from him. We're not going to have to get diamonds from other people. We're not going to mark up our prices to mark them down.
So Genesis was born. No middleman markups, no commission salespeople, industry-leading warranties, 30 times the selection, a no-holds-barred diamond education that empowers the customer, and a refreshing, relaxed, no-pressure atmosphere.
We created a place where the consumer is the king.
Come and get the royal treatment today. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Hey, it's Mark Howard here. You've heard me talk about my friends at Apple Collision Centers for a while now, and today I'm here with CEO Stan Harrison to tell you about how they can help ease your stress with your auto body repair.
That's right, Mark. We have 3 convenient locations, Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin, ready to serve you. Our people are homegrown right here in Middle Tennessee with over 75 years experience. We can help with all your auto body repair needs.
So stop by and see Stan and his team today and tell them Mark sent you, or visit them online at applecollisioncenters.com.
We want to hear from you.
Thanks for taking the call.
Join the conversation. Call or text at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We may now begin our day. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley alongside Adam Vingan and Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Tuesday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. I got some tickets to give away to see Roger Waters coming up at Bridgestone Arena on Saturday, August 27th. Be caller number 5, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Caller number 5 will win a pair of tickets to see Roger Waters coming up at Bridgestone Arena on Saturday, August 27th. 615-737-1025. Thanks to Greg Wyshynski for joining us in the last segment. We'll have Steve Lehman from News Channel 5 coming up at 9 o'clock. By the way, David Poyle joining the DDC coming up later today at 11 o'clock. So looking forward to that discussion. 11 o'clock, David Poyle. We had Philip Forsberg on earlier in the show. If you missed that conversation with Philip Forsberg, we'll have it for you again coming up at 9:30 as well. Great stuff from number 9. So looking forward to that. NHL free agency just a day away, Adam Vingan.
Mm-hmm.
What are some intriguing storylines to you heading into this, particularly as it relates to the Nashville Predators?
Well, as we were talking to Greg, his partner in crime, Jeff Marek, tweeted out something I found to be interesting. So it's been reported that Andrew Kopp, who was traded from Winnipeg, if I recall this correctly, was traded from Winnipeg to the New York Rangers at the trade deadline and fit in quite well with the New York Rangers, who made it to the Eastern Conference Final, will not be returning to New York, or at least will be testing free agency. And oftentimes when a player is testing the market, it means he's unlikely to come back. There are exceptions to this. But Jeff, who is quite plugged in, wondered aloud if the Predators might be a fit for Andrew Kopp. And I find that to be interesting because, Kopp was the Rangers' second-line center down the stretch. And I think he played with Artemi Panarin quite a bit. So if they were looking for they're not really looking for a center. Now, if I can't recall if Kopp ever played wing for the Winnipeg Jets. I feel like he might have.
Yeah.
And he is a left shot. So if you wanted him to be a left winger, I mean, it could work. I'd be curious to see if that were a fit and how much Kopp would cost, because I think he increased his value during the stretch run and in the playoffs. I'm looking up his expiring contract. Kopp was playing on a 1-year, $3.64 million contract with the Winnipeg Jets. It was signed following an arbitration filing. So I think that might have been, I can't recall. I mean, I guess he actually would have gone through arbitration. I think that was an arbitration ruling. So he was playing on a 1-year contract at $3.6-ish million. I mean, do you see a fit? I'm not sure I do.
Well, I think he's a good player. I think, to me, he's probably on a good team. Probably needs to be your third line guy.
And I think that's what he was in Winnipeg.
That's what he was in Winnipeg
when they were at the height of their powers in the 2017-18 season.
Now, last year, he had a good year last year. Combined with Winnipeg and New York, he had 21 goals, 32 assists, 53 points. So that's a good year. Now, as you said, he did play some with Panarin. He's really good defensively as well, which is something to keep in mind here. But you're wanting somebody that can put the puck in the back of the net. I mean, the concern I would have would be he had 21 goals last year. His previous high prior to that is 15.
Yeah. So
now that was 15 in 55 games played in 2021. So it was a shortened season that year. But, I don't know. Like, I think the price will be there. Like we discussed yesterday, you're probably going to have somewhere between $4.5, $5.5 million to work with if you're the Predators. When you factor in Trennan's new contract that's eventually going to come down the pike, when you factor in, if you're David Poile wanting to leave yourself a little bit of wiggle room with the salary cap as the season begins, probably $4.5, $5 million that you've got to work with. So what does that look like? And is Kopp the resource you want to spend that on? I don't know. Like, I think he's a good player. I'm not sure that he makes the top 6 dramatically better. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I don't think I think he kind of falls into that same category as some of the players we were mentioning yesterday that could be available at the price range that we were talking about, whether it was Nino Niederreiter or Max Domi or someone along those lines. Kopp fit right in. I mean, the Rangers made some savvy moves at the trade deadline, and Kopp was one of them. And I'm sure a team with a need for a top 6 center will certainly go after him in free agency tomorrow. But I just based on the depth chart, I'm not sure exactly, one, where he fits in a potential Predators lineup, and two, if he does play on the wing, is he a difference maker? I'm not convinced.
What do you make of the Evgeny Malkin side of this? Because you brought it up with Pittsburgh. It looks like he's going to be heading to free agency now. There's apparently been a 3-year offer on the table from Pittsburgh, and he wants 4. It doesn't mean if he goes and tests the market. Like, it's not like you're dealing with an 8-year contract here. So the advantage that you would have if you're, like let's say the Predators in the Forsberg situation with an 8-year contract that only you can offer, that doesn't really exist here with the Malkin situation. What does exist is you have 16 years of familiarity, and he's the pillar of a franchise along with Sidney Crosby and Chris Letang. So I still, I guess, at the end of the day, have my questions as to whether or not he's actually going to end up leaving Pittsburgh. Something may get figured out on a short-term basis. But if he does, let's say he does leave, what does that market look like? And we've had, a couple of questions on our text line today, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. If you're the Predators, should you take a look at Malkin?
Well, I think Jared may have made this point yesterday that if Malkin is looking for 4 years, and you look at some of the contracts that are lining up for the Predators, their core players, a lot of them have 3 to 4 years left. The majority of them do anyway. If you really want to go for it, go for it. But I agree with a lot of what Greg said, that Malkin is still a good player, but he is greatly diminished.
He's not the same guy.
He's not the same guy. And I do find it interesting that that the Penguins are playing hardball with one of maybe the third greatest player in their history behind Sidney Crosby and Mario Lemieux. Yeah. You can argue which one of those two goes first, but Like I said, I would root for Team Chaos and have him sign a short-term deal with the Washington Capitals. That would be fabulous, because as we talked about, they do need a center with Nick Backstrom potentially. I know that Nick Backstrom is hoping to play at some point this coming season, but as Greg said, players historically who have had the surgery that Nick has had don't come back, or come back very briefly before retiring. I think Ryan Kessler was the most recent example, and Ed Jovanowski, veteran defenseman before that. So I would love that if Malkin played on the line with Ovechkin against Crosby. Man, that would be must-see TV.
Peter Laviolette at the helm.
Oh yeah. So I it would be I have a hard time seeing Malkin leave. You talk about players that you identify with one franchise, and Crosby and Malkin have been 1-2 in Pittsburgh for 15 years.
What a week that'll be for the city of Pittsburgh. You change the name of Heinz Field, and Evgeny Malkin leaves in the same week.
Yeah.
Tough time.
There's going to be a lot of shattered Heinz 57 bottles all over Pittsburgh.
That's right. 615-737-1025. We'll continue to take your thoughts on NHL free agency. What should the Predators be looking for? Are there any players that strike your interest as Preds fans? 615-737-1025. This is Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Hey, Preds fans.
Running across to make the save is Sarah.
You can now hear Nashville's best sports talk.
The backhander, he scores!
And every Predators game on 106.3 FM.
Oh, that was a thing of beauty.
From downtown Nashville to Rutherford and Williamson counties.
Duchesne with the overtime winner.
Catch all the action on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Nothing makes one feel better than the ability to give to someone in need. You have the power to give the most important gift of all, the gift of life, with a donation of your blood. Supplies are desperately low in our area, and your help is needed. Blood Assurance is a nonprofit community blood center that supplies our Middle Tennessee area hospitals. Please find it in your heart to donate. Be someone's hero today. Go to bloodassurance.org to find a location or blood drive near you. That's bloodassurance.org. Give blood, give local, save lives with Blood Assurance.
Hey, Willie Donick here. Are you feeling the sting of higher interest rates and higher costs? Those credit cards and other loans are costing more and more every month, and inflation is making everything else more expensive. Your home can save you right now. Your home value is up, and there's a ton of cash in it that you can access with Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto specializes in zero-cost cash-out home refis. You can get tens of thousands in as little as 2 weeks. Pay off those 23% rate credit cards and other loans. Consolidate everything into one super low payment. People who do this usually cut $800 or more from their monthly budget. If your home mortgage rate goes up a point or so, it's offset by your credit card rate going to zero. So call Loan Pronto now and unlock that equity and wipe out the bad debt. Do it now. You can even skip your next 2 house payments. Call 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
102.5 The Game is teaming up with Newton Motor Group and Souls for Souls to provide shoes for children experiencing homelessness in Nashville and the surrounding area. With school coming back, our goal is to raise $20,000, which will provide 1,000 pairs of shoes for kids. Please help however you can by going to thegamenashville.com/shoes. All donations go directly to Souls for Souls to give shoes to children in Middle Tennessee. thegamenashville.com/shoes.
Tune in to ESPN 102.5 The Game every Tuesday afternoon at 4:30 for ESPN's Trevor Maddich joining me, Jared Stillman, on Stillman & Company as we dive deep into the college football world and all the latest from the SEC. It's all brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters.
Looking good, Mrs. Dubs.
The head groundskeeper at Thad's Golf Course just retired.
We need to find someone in the next 2 weeks. Someone with botany and management experience.
He needs a replacement because the greens are already looking a little rough.
Aeration. They need to know it all.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Earn up to $500 in sponsored job credits by interviewing on Indeed. Visit Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
Your home for Hit City is 94.9 The Fan.
Your Nashville Sounds return to First Horizon Park to take on the Memphis Redbirds. Swing and a miss. Strike three. Sounds win. Pregame at 6:50.
On your home for Sounds baseball, 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Hey, this is John Hines, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 1025 The Game.
Philip, what was on the itinerary for your bachelor party?
I bet you want to know that.
Yes, I do.
It was a good time. That's all I can say. We had a good time. It was my friends did a great job setting it all up, or not all up. We all put it together, obviously. But it was great. We had a really good time, and yeah, there's a little bit of recovery needed, but I feel better now.
That was Philip Forsberg on with us earlier in the show. Great stuff from Adam Vingan there, getting to the bottom of what exactly went on in Philip Forsberg's bachelor party. He was not willing to disclose the details, but I think there could be some reading between the lines that takes place there. Good stuff from Philip. By the way, if you missed that interview that we had earlier in the show, we'll have it coming up for you in its entirety at 9:30 today here on the program with Philip Forsberg. So there you go. I got a message on the text line from Tyler. It says, Adam Vingan with the Jaromir Jagr erasure, and I won't stand for it.
Oh, wow. I did forget Jagr.
Won't stand for it. How could you forget that Jagr hair in the early 90s?
Good call. Good call on good call there. That's my bad.
So we would go some version of Lemieux's number 1. So let's go Lemieux 1, Crosby 2, Jagr 3.
Malkin 4. Fair?
In terms of I think Pittsburgh Penguins of all time.
Yes, I unfortunately forgot about Jaromir Jagr.
Matt Cullen somewhere at number 6 or 7 on the list.
Yes. Anyway, Philip wasn't biting on my bachelor party question.
He was not.
Do we need to get George Kittle on the phone?
Well, we might need to see what George has to say. I don't even know if George was there, but
I have to imagine that George had to make some sort of appearance. Those two are like best buds.
They're like inseparable. I don't know.
Right. Training camp doesn't start for a couple more weeks for the NFL.
That's right.
I think he was in Spain, I believe, right? I think that was where.
I think so.
Yeah, I think he went to Spain. Philip did for his bachelor party. I'm sure they ran with the Bulls.
Yep.
Or whatever the kids do these days.
My bachelor party was at Panama City Beach, Florida, so his is probably a little bit better than mine.
I don't know. The Redneck Riviera versus the Spanish Riviera. Is there a Spanish Riviera? There's a French Riviera. I'm not sure if there's a Spanish Riviera. But hey, Panama City Beach, Florida, man.
Beautiful.
I've never been.
What?
No, I haven't.
Oh my goodness.
So,
Ethan from Lawrenceburg on the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says, "What about Vincent Trocheck to the Preds, or will he cost too much?"
Vincent Trocheck.
I don't think he will cost too much.
No, I think he'll probably be in that same sort of range that we're talking about. And Trocheck's a good player.
He's 29.
I think he's predominantly a center. I think.
Yeah.
I'm looking at he had 51 points in 81 games last season for the Carolina Hurricanes. 21 goals, 30 points. The year before that, he had 43 points in 47 games. His career mark, he had 31 goals and 75 points in the 17-18 season in 82 games for the Florida Panthers.
He's a good player.
He is a good player. The players that are coming out of Carolina, they do have some interesting names. Nino Niederreiter, Vincent Trocheck, Ian Cole, who's had an interesting week on social media.
Yes.
Anyway, Trocheck is a good player. He's a little mouthy, which I think is good for this team. Like you look at some of the, I was reading something from ESPN during the break about everything that every team should do in free agency, and the Predators, they're now that Philip has been re-signed, their most prominent UFA is Nick Cousins, and Nick, fit a role in Nashville. I think he brought some spice to the lineup, but he wasn't incredibly productive. And I think if you can find a player like Nick Cousins who is a bit more productive, I think that would be a good thing. And I think Trocheck fits that mold. I'm not sure what the fit would be here, but yeah, Trocheck is a good player. I mean, he's a consistent, 40 to 50 point guy. But then again, you're hoping for a little bit more from your top 6.
Well,
player.
You bring up the free agents that they have. Like, I would be surprised if Nick Cousins is back at this point. Like, I think the Predators are probably going to let him go. Matt Benning is a free agent as well, who's been playing on a $1 million cap hit the last couple of years. So he's been a relatively inexpensive player, and he's had his moments where he's played okay for the Predators. Had his moments as well where it's not been all that great. But for his price, I mean, I guess I could see them taking a look at bringing him back, but it kind of feels like their defense core is set. He'd be the 8th defenseman at that point. So do you really want to bring him back as an 8th defenseman role? I kind of have my doubts.
No, I think with the news that Ryan McDonough is now a member of the Nashville Predators, I think Matt Benning is probably on his way out.
So both those guys are probably gone at this point. So, I think definitely top 6 is going to be addressed. That's probably it. Like, I think you're probably one player away, barring a trade, which it's hard to see coming at this point, but you're one player away from basically having your team set next year, I think, if you're the Predators. So there's going to be some options on the table that they've got coming up tomorrow. Jack on the text line says, is Claude Giroux washed, and will he break the bank? I've always liked him. It's coming from Jack on Twitter.
I don't think he's washed. He is an older player. Claude Giroux is 34 years old. He had 65 points last season.
Yep.
He had 23 points in 18 regular season games for the Panthers, 20 assists. There's been a lot of chatter. There's been a lot of chatter about him potentially returning home to Ottawa.
Yep.
And Ottawa has a lot of cap space, and they just made a big splash with trading for Alex DeBrincat. They appear to be in that turning the corner phase, and Giroux would certainly help that. He's going to be too much. He's going to demand too much, I think, on the open market. I don't think they have the space for him here.
Neil on the text line says, do you know why the Preds didn't qualify Matt Luff or David Ferentz? This is coming from Neil on the text line.
Luff, I would just guess because
they've got a lot of guys like Matt Luff.
There are a lot of Matt Luffs out there.
Yeah.
Ferentz is interesting. He did not have a great season in Milwaukee. And like I said earlier in the show, just because a team does not qualify a restricted free agent doesn't mean that player can't come back.
Right.
I don't know what Ferentz's qualifying offer would be. My guess it would be above league average, and maybe the Predators want to save a little bit, so perhaps they re-sign him as a UFA to a league minimum. I meant league minimum, not league average. A league minimum contract. Yeah, I don't think the door I don't know if the door is all the way shut on David Ferentz. But clearly, he hasn't been what they have hoped so far if they're not giving him a qualifying offer.
Right, and that was not uncommon around the whole league yesterday.
Yeah.
I think it was in the 90s in terms of players that did not receive
and there were some really good
offers.
Players who did not receive qualifying offers. I mean, we talked about Dylan Strome in Chicago and Dominique Kubalik.
Samsonov, the goalie in Washington,
did not get one. And they don't have any goalies on their. They don't have any goalies because they traded Vanacek and they did not qualify Samsonov. All signs point to Darcy Kemper, signing in Washington tomorrow. Sonny Milano in Anaheim and Sam Steele. Neither of them received qualifying offers. Yeah, there were a lot of really good young players around the league who did not get qualifying offers. And as I said earlier in the show, it's sort of because of this flat cap world, the middle class is being squeezed out because the players at the top that make a lot of the money, they're still going to make a lot of the money. And the players at the bottom who are league minimum or thereabouts are still going to get cheap deals. It's that $3, $4, $5 million range, those players they're going to have some difficulty getting their value on the market.
We'll continue the discussion coming up next. There's a player that's intriguing that Chase McKay brought up yesterday that I want to get Adam's thoughts on the other side. Also got more questions on the text line as well, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 1025. Join 1025 1063 The Game and Newton Motor Group this summer to help kids in Middle Tennessee as we team up with Souls for Souls to provide shoes to children experiencing homelessness in Nashville and the surrounding area. With school coming back, our goal is to raise $20,000, which will provide 1,000 pairs of shoes for kids, but we can't do it without you. Please consider helping however you can by going to thegamenashville.com/shoes. All donations will go directly to Souls for Souls to give shoes to children in Middle Tennessee experiencing homelessness. Let's do some good this summer, and thank you for your help. Once again, that's thegamenashville.com/shoes. Newton Motor Group, a proud sponsor of Souls for Music City. Newton Motor Group, the best car deals in Nashville start at Newton. This is Robby and Rexrode here on 1025, 1063 The Game.
Monday. Join us live from Atlanta for SEC Media Days. Brought to you by Volunteer Hose and Gasket, equipment supplier in Nashville, including gaskets, hoses, and hose fittings, seals, packing, joints, gauges, fire protection, cups, belting, and more. If you need it, they've got it. Live on 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Looking at another warm day, but today we're going to factor in some more humidity. High 94, heat index 101. Storms possible starting this afternoon.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
The Electronic Express Summer Clearance Sale is here. This week, get a Samsung 65-inch 4K TV for $599 or a Frigidaire 4-piece kitchen package for $25.99. Save up to 50% off in every department at Electronic Express. Computers, appliances, 4K TVs, housewares, furniture, mattresses, and more. Don't miss out on an XPG gaming laptop for just $899 or a Whirlpool washer and dryer for $499 each. Shop in-store or online with free financing. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Zines First is the official sign company for 1025 The Game. Go to sfnash.com.
Are you kidding me? Gas prices are up again? Somebody has to do something.
Well, someone did. That's why I use Upside.
Upside? What's that?
It's a free app that pays you back real money for every gallon of gas or diesel you buy. I just earned 25 cents back on every gallon of this tank.
Hold on. So the Upside app is free and you actually get cash back every time you use it? No strings attached?
Yep, it's awesome. Check it out. It only takes a couple of minutes to sign up.
Instead of just watching your dollars go into your tank, start putting money back into your wallet with the free app from Upside. With the price of gas today, it's big news and big money. To cash out of your Upside cash, just transfer it to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card. Upside users have already earned over $200 million. Now it's your turn. Download the free Upside app and get cash back on every gallon of gas. Use promo code ESPN for an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first fill-up. That's code ESPN. Use code ESPN for an extra 25 cents per gallon back in your first fill-up. Cashback's not available in gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
At Lowe's, every pro is an MVP to us. That's why we're introducing MVP's bonus points to our rewards and partnership program. It's the only pro loyalty program where you can earn points just by downloading our app or shopping select items by trusted brands and more. Then redeem your points for rewards that level up your business. Join MVP's Pro Rewards today and earn your first 1,000 points. MVP's Pro Rewards program subject to program terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/L/pro loyalty terms. Subject to change.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Starting trouble. No one likes that. We'll get you set up for some stronger starts. You might just need a fresh charge, and we'll take care of that free of charge. But if it is time for a new battery, we've got replacement batteries that'll fit your needs, starting at just $69.99. You can learn more about our battery selection at AutoZone.com. That's what makes us America's #1 battery destination.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Claim based on data from the NPD Group 2021.
Jared Stillman.
If you get 3 games where he doesn't turn the ball over, you're going to the Super Bowl.
Caroline Fenton.
I don't know if he would be open to joining another team.
Stillman and Company. Afternoons from 2 to 6.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
1025 and 1063 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode
on ESPN
1025 and 1063 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
You gotta keep them separated.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. We are live from the Hillside Medical Game Studio on this Tuesday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. We'll have Steve Lehman from News Channel 5 coming up at 9 o'clock. We will replay our interview from earlier in the show with Philip Forsberg at 9:30. Great conversation with Philip Forsberg. That's coming up at 9:30 here on the program. Right now, taking your thoughts on the Preds and NHL free agency on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Steve in Brentwood texting in says, would they trade Ekholm to get the right top six winger? This is coming from Steve in Brentwood. Would you trade Matthias Ekholm to get the right top six winger?
Would I or would they?
Would they?
No.
Is the question.
No. They just signed him.
I know.
I don't think. I don't think that's.
Well, to
happen.
me, it kind of. I wouldn't say that it totally negates the McDonough trade, but you needed a boost on your defense.
Yes.
And you got McDonough coming in. If you then move Ekholm out, well, then you still need another defenseman.
Right. I think it would be counterintuitive for them to do that. There's your big word of the day.
Also, you talk about no movement clauses. You know, they traded Ryan Ellis 2 years after he signed his deal without a no movement clause.
Yeah.
Matthias Ekholm just signed his last year.
His contract hasn't even started.
It just kicks in now.
It just starts like tomorrow.
Yeah. Starts tomorrow, and
Yeah.
you just trade him.
Yeah.
It's probably not. It's not a good look. Now, I will say this: sometimes it's just the way you have to do things if you're a general manager. So you can worry about the look of it later. So I understand that, but I would be very, very surprised if Matthias Ekholm got traded.
Yes, I would as well. So, sorry,
now,
Texter.
Is there a trade that has not yet been made by David Poile? So, I mean, you got McDonough for essentially nothing with Myers and Grant Mismash going the other way. You traded Luke Cunnin and got a third-round pick and a prospect back. So you've made some deals already. Do you see a scenario with this roster, trade-wise, that makes sense for them to go get a top 6 forward? Because I look at their roster right now, like, you know, Dante Fabro is not fetching you a top 6 forward. Like, I don't think there's a single individual player that they're willing to trade or that they can trade that gets them a top 6 forward, to me.
Right, like you go back to 2016 when the Predators traded Seth Jones for Ryan Johansson. And Seth Jones always was going to be that asset. When the Predators needed to upgrade at forward, they had a young defenseman, only a few years in the league, with a lot of potential, and you always kind of knew that Seth Jones was going to be that trade chip. Even you can go a year later to 2017. When the Predators were involved in that ill-fated 3-team deal with Colorado and Ottawa. Sam Girard was that player that was going to get you what you thought would be an upgrade at forward. Unfortunately, Kyle Turris was anything but that. But there really isn't that player on this roster. You're right. Like, in terms of a player that they would actually want to trade. The assets aren't really there. They don't really have a pipeline, brimming with up and comers, like big time difference makers.
Well, the one guy they got in their pipeline
is Askarov.
But
you're not trading him.
I don't think you're trading him right now.
So, I think Jared and Caroline were talking about, if they want to be bold and do something, out of the box, trade UC Saros. But I don't imagine that happening either.
There is someone that Chase McCabe brought up yesterday that I'm interested to get your thoughts on, because he's an older player, but he's been a pain in the side of the Predators for a long time.
Okay,
and he was really good in the playoffs.
Let me guess.
Okay.
He's been a pain for the Predators for a long time. He's a free agent or a trade?
He is about to become a free agent.
What team? Give me a hint that doesn't make it obvious, because I didn't hear this.
I'm trying to think of a hint that doesn't make it obvious.
Jerome McGinley.
No, well, good Lord.
He was a pain for the Predators.
He was
for
a big-time pain for the Predators. I'll put it to you this way. He's played for a certain team in the Central Division, and he's come back there on 3 separate occasions.
David Perron.
That is it.
Yeah, David Perron is interesting because it appears he is being squeezed out in St. Louis.
He's 34.
He's 34.
He had 57 points last year, 27 goals, 30 assists in 67 games, and was very, very good for the Blues in the playoffs.
Yes, and even going back to he was a member of the inaugural Vegas Golden Knights and had 66 points in 70 games, and then he's hit 60 a couple times here in the last few years. That would be interesting. I think that would be an upgrade.
And I'm thinking 2-year deal for David Perron. He's 34, so you're not going much past that anyway. But he's up there, so that's what you're concerned about. But I mean, the production was absolutely there last year.
Yeah, that's an interesting name out there for sure. He helps drive play a little bit. He's a really good finisher, career-wise. He's a strong finisher, and he's responsible defensively. So, yeah, I think that would be – I could get on board with that.
What do you think his market looks like? Because the Blues, they want him back, and they've made that pretty clear, but they're just in a salary cap spot right now where that's going to be difficult to accomplish. So, I think there's still some dialogue there between he and the Blues, and I guess ultimately I wouldn't be surprised if they somehow found a way to make that work. But I do wonder at age 34. I mean, the numbers would suggest that
he's coming off of a 4-year, $16 million contract.
Right. So you're talking about a $4 million cap hit there at age 34. Now, he did have a great year last year. So does that go up a little bit? Maybe. But there's also the age part of this that you got to factor in.
Right. Like if it
at
was
34.
If it was 2 years, $9 million. So it's $4.5 million cap hit for 2 years. Yeah, I take a flyer on David Perron. Sure.
Yeah, I think that could be something to maybe keep your eye on tomorrow.
Yeah, I like it. I could get on board with that. So good idea by Chase.
Logan says go trade for Corey Perry. Duh.
Well, I'm just telling you this: if you trade for Corey Perry, you're going to lose in the Stanley Cup Final.
Hey.
You'll get there.
You sign up for that right now.
You'll get there, but you're going to lose because Corey Perry, as we know, has now played in 3 consecutive Stanley Cup Finals and has been on the losing end all 3 times with the Dallas Stars in the bubble, with the Montreal Canadiens, and now with the Tampa Bay Lightning. He's the anti-Patrick Maroon, basically.
Yes. Which I know really just makes Predators fans really upset.
Can you imagine,
to watch him lose.
Corey Perry playing for the Nashville Predators? Because when you're ranking the all-time villains in Predators history, Corey Perry's got to be top 3.
He's top 3, yeah.
Can you imagine that?
No, I can't. Now, for starters, he's not going anywhere. He's got 1 more year left on his deal with Tampa.
Right.
So, and he was really good for Tampa at a very cheap price. So
exactly.
He ain't going anywhere. But it is interesting to think about that. I mean, look, Perron is not on the villain list very high, I don't think, but he's certainly, when you talk about the mold of hard to play against and kind of a pain in the butt, that's David Perron to a T there.
Oh, for sure. No, I really like that idea. I hadn't really thought of it, but I do think that could be a fit. I do.
Let's go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in Kathlena, who wants to weigh in. Kathlena, thanks for calling into Robby and Rexrode.
Hello, guys. Adam, it's great to hear your voice.
Oh, thank you.
Glad you haven't gone too far away. A couple of things. One is I'm not a big David Perron fan, but I will take him every day above Corey Perry.
There you go.
I may have to turn in my season tickets if they get Corey Perry on this team.
You're probably not alone there.
The other thing is, if they trade Ekholm, I'm going to be so mad because I don't think it's necessary. I mean, we need him, the size of him on our defense, in my opinion, and his skill. I mean, he's a good defenseman. So, and I think with McDonough coming in, it's just going to make our defense that much better. Of course, you guys have said that. Another thing, just real quick before I let you go, is I would love, after free agency and all the hoopla that goes around that and everything, I would love for Adam and Robby and, I don't know, maybe Willie, I don't know, Chris Mason, is to do a show on the prospects.
Okay.
The guys down in Milwaukee or the guys that are playing elsewhere. And tell us who these guys are, what do y'all think of them, and all that stuff. And I'd just love for you guys to be able to have a show where we can find out about these guys, because I really don't know that much about them.
Well, we may have to put that together. That could be a great idea, Kathleen. We appreciate it.
Thanks. See you. Bye.
Absolutely.
Bye.
That's It'll be something we have to think about doing there, Binion.
All right.
Look, Ekholm's not going anywhere.
The time to have traded if the time
that is
to
long
have traded
since come and
Ekholm would have been Ekholm would have been at the trade deadline like a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So Elliot Freeman just put out something
Okay.
about the market, ahead of free agency, and this is interesting. San Jose GM Mike Greer admitted Monday the Sharks will try to accommodate a Brent Burns move if the defenseman wishes. Burns has a lot of control on this. He's got a permanent residence in Texas, and it's believed Dallas is a preferred destination. Sidebar, Joe Pavelski's there too.
Sure.
It would take some cap gymnastics. However, I had also heard that Nashville is somewhere he'd like, but the Predators have made their moves.
Yeah, Brent Burns is not coming here.
I know, but can you imagine? Can you imagine Brent Burns playing for the Predators?
No, I can't. I mean, at this stage, how old is he? He's up there, isn't he?
He's not young.
He's 37. Yeah, he's old,
and he's got some term left.
I love how I just called 37. 37 is ancient.
He has 3 more seasons left at $8 million. So
yeah,
that would have been. I think McDonough was the right call.
Let me tell you, if that's who the Dallas Stars end up replacing Klingberg with,
yeah, watch out.
Probably feeling okay with that if you're a Preds fan.
Yeah, Brent Burns. I mean, look, he's not the player he was 4 or 5 years ago.
No,
he's still a really good player.
He's still very good. Coming up next, we'll be joined by Steve Lehman from News Channel 5. Get his thoughts on the Preds and the signing of Philip Forsberg and the Titans with training camp just a few weeks away as well. This is Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The MTSU Blue Raiders live here.
Touchdown, Middle Tennessee! 3-ball, yes, sir!
And when you're in the borough, tune us in on 97.5.
In the end zone, caught, touchdown!
We are Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
This is Chef John from Kitchen Notes at the Omni Nashville. Inviting you to come join us for breakfast and lunch. We are offering some exciting new menu items. For breakfast, we have a smoked prime rib hash. Comes with a sunny side up egg, hominy, caramelized onions. It's a great start to your day. We are featuring a sourdough pancake made with a sourdough bread starter. It's a fun spin on the classic buttermilk pancake. As always, Kitchen Notes is serving biscuits all day. Come join us and create a memorable experience here at the Omni Hotel. Food is all about memories for us. We'd like you to start a new memory here at Kitchen Notes in the Omni Hotel.
Breakfast at Kitchen Notes in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Hey, Ray Jeter here with Harness. Are you looking to take ownership in a position that will support your growth and development? We are an excavation and site utilities contractor. Several things set us apart from our competition, but we take the most pride in the professional development of our people. We have multiple openings for operators, pipe layers, and laborers. Our pay and benefits are second to none, including our 401k program. Apply today at selectharness.com. Harness LLC. Build people, move dirt.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway. Now here's Jim Mitchell.
At Mitchell's Mr. Transmission, we also offer free towing with any major repairs. If your vehicle has a breakdown and you should need any type towing is available through Dad's Towing Service. Dad's is a professional towing company in Nashville that provides all types towing and recovery, 24 hours a day.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway.
Hey, it's Jared. If you're listening to us on I-24 towards Murfreesboro or I-65 towards Spring Hill, make sure you check out 106.3 for another great way to hear Nashville's best sports talk.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Robby and Rexrode to DDC.
Stillman and Company.
Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
The leading receiver.
Awesome game 7.
Checker flag in the air. The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive. This is Robby and Rexrode. With Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexrode on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen,
it's showtime.
Welcome back in. Final hour of Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley alongside Adam Vinkin and Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Tuesday morning. And we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in our good friend Steve Lehman from News Channel 5. Steve, what's going on, brother? How we doing?
Robbie, good to hear from you. Adam, good to talk to you. Guys, how are we this morning?
We're great. Appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning. Steve, we've got a lot to get to with the Preds and the Titans. We'll start on the Preds front. What did you make of the Forsberg contract? 8 years, $8.5 million per year. The negotiation took a little while, but it finally got done between David Poile and the Forsberg camp. What did you make of that deal for the Predators?
Well, all it had to get done was get done at some point, right? And
That's
they
right.
got it done. So I don't think it really matters that it took a little bit longer than maybe somebody expected, or it went right down to the wire. Because at the end of the day, Philip Forsberg is going to play here until his mid-30s and probably beyond, frankly, if we're being honest about it. And that's good because Philip Forsberg wants to be here. So from his camp, he ends up getting $8.5 million per season. He sticks around in Nashville where both he and his wife love. They get to build their family here. He gets to play hockey in the only city really he's known in North America as a hockey player. And for the Predators, they keep the all-time leading goal scorer in franchise history, who's still in his late 20s, probably has the peak of his career in front of him, and they didn't overpay in a big way for it. You know, you can quibble over $1 or a cent here or there, but the contract to me seems very fair ultimately. The one thing maybe from the Predators' perspective that you don't love is you give the complete no movement clause in there, but let's be honest, things are going really poorly if you're moving Philip Forsberg at some point after this deal anyway. And so from a Predators standpoint, you get a really exciting, dynamic player that your fan base loves, and you get him back under a contract that I think is fairly team-friendly ultimately in terms of the way they want to construct this team moving forward.
So, Steve, with that in mind, you got Forsberg back in the fold. We'll see what else happens this week. They've got some cap space, and I think they're definitely going to add to their top six in some form or fashion coming up here in the next couple of days. Ryan McDonough has come in from Tampa Bay. So given all that information, how do you currently view this team based on the moves that they've made and based off where we last saw them against Colorado, who just mowed through them in the first round of the playoffs, albeit they mowed through pretty much everybody in the playoffs?
Well, Adam might interject that this is dangerous, but I actually concur with the narration of David Poile from yesterday on this, that I think the addition of McDonough, the re-signing of Forsberg, and just the natural evolution of some of the young players on this team who stepped in and played big roles last year and now will be a year older and a year stronger and a year more familiar with the system means that the Predators are better right now today than they were at the end of the season when they lost to the Avalanche. Oh, by the way, they'd have UC Saros back between the pipes and healthy, which certainly helps as well. Now, the question is, and I asked this yesterday to David Poile, is how much closer are they to the Avalanche? Because we all watched that series, and they were a long ways away from truly contending with the team that ultimately won the Stanley Cup. Now, that's not a huge crime because the Avalanche pretty much rolled through the playoffs against everybody. So everybody in the league is chasing the Avalanche and trying to get up to that level. But certainly the Predators are looking at that team, not just in the Western Conference, not just for the Stanley Cup, but within their division. That's the team that they have to compete with. That's the team that they have to look up to. And I think they're a ways off from that. I do agree with you that with the money, I think the one thing they may be able to do is try to find a second line type of forward that maybe bolsters that top six. But I think this is a process that sort of starts them moving back in the direction. And I thought it was interesting, and it may have been a choice of words perhaps, but David Poile did say yesterday that he felt the way the team was going is they took a couple steps back in the last couple of years to hopefully now be able to take a step forward.
Yep.
And I may be reading too much into that, but it does sort of feel like this was the plan, get Forsberg back in. You may not be able to make this team a Stanley Cup contender tomorrow or during this week in free agency, but you start moving with this core forward to hopefully get back there over the next couple of years.
Steve Lehman from News Channel 5 joining us here on Robby and Rexrode. Geez, easy for me to say. I don't know how you don't always get tongue-tied on that, Robby, or Joe, who's not here to speak for himself. But switching gears, Steve, to the Tennessee Titans, the ESPN has been doing its recent lists ranking the top 10 players by position. Today, of course, the running back list came out. Number 1 on the list, surprise, surprise, Derrick Henry. Number 2, Jonathan Taylor. In your mind, would you still have Derrick Henry above Jonathan Taylor in your rankings of the top running backs in the NFL?
I would, and I'm pleasantly surprised that they still do. It seems like somehow with Derrick Henry out for the last half of last season, and this is not to take anything away from what Jonathan Taylor did because he was sensational, but it's like people completely forgot who the most dominant player offensively in the NFL was over the last 2.5 seasons before that. Yes, he was hurt. Yes, that's an issue. He's got to come back, and he's got to prove to us that he's 100%. But since everybody believes that's going to be the case, and he looked good when he was at minicamp a few weeks ago, I see no reason to think that Derrick Henry won't be the same productive, dominant running back that he's been this year. And I think the Titans are going to ride him in that way. And when you look back, when he was healthy over those 2.5 years, maybe even 3 years, if you go back to the last part of the 2019 season, Derrick Henry was not just the best running back in the game today. You could make an argument he was in the middle of the best stretch by a running back in the history of the NFL. That's how good he was in terms of the carries he was eating up, the yards he was producing, the touchdowns he was producing, and what he meant to the Titans offense. Again, nothing to take away from Jonathan Taylor because he's sensational. But he's sensational in the context of a player right now. Derrick Henry is historically great when he's at the top of his game, and I expect that's what we see again this fall.
The Titans will start training camp here in a few weeks, and I know that a predominant storyline since he was drafted by the Tennessee Titans is the status of Treylon Burks, his health, and whether he will be ready for prime time, so to speak, when the Titans open the season against the New York Giants. How concerned, if at all, are you by what you have seen and heard about Treylon Burks so far, and how closely will you be watching him come training camp?
I don't know how, if you're a Titans fan, you're not at least a little bit concerned, Adam, because this is the guy that they traded up for in the first round to get to replace A.J. Brown. And A.J. Brown was your best pass catcher over the last couple of seasons, and you need somebody to help replace that production to make sure you have any semblance of a passing game this year. And it's not all on Treylon Burks. Some of that's Robert Woods. Some of that is other guys on this team having to step up. I think it's unfair to put the expectation that he's going to be A.J. Brown right away. But that is the reality. He may not have chose it. The Titans maybe don't want that necessarily to be the case, but people are going to always compare him to that. And he's got to be a part of the solution, if not the entire solution. And right now he can't even stay on the field for practice. Now, I expect them to have figured this thing out by the time he gets back at training camp, and I expect him to be out there much more than we saw him in the offseason. But the bottom line is he's behind. It takes every rookie some time to come in and learn what's going on, and he's going to have to do that on a moving bus when training camp starts and try to catch up, and that is very concerning for me. And we talked about it the other night on the Electric Power Company Sunday Sports Central on News Channel 5. I asked Jonathan Hutton, I said, who are the 3 people that have the most pressure on them this season from a Titans perspective? And he said, obviously, Ryan Tannehill when it comes to postseason success. He listed Taylor Lewan, given the anchor of the offensive line and what his contract status is. And then he went right to Treylon Burks. And I agree. He may be a rookie. He maybe hasn't played before, but he absolutely has to be a part of this offense in a big way this fall. Otherwise, at least for year one, that pick and that move around the trade and getting Treylon Burks is going to be a huge bust in a lot of people's eyes.
So, Steve, with that in mind, last thing for you here, as you look at the team in general heading into training camp, if you go by the sports books, A lot of people expecting at least some step back for the Titans this year. Obviously, not having A.J. Brown a big part of that. I love the defense on paper heading into training camp. How do you feel about this group? Are they the division favorites in your mind? Are they a playoff team? What do you think about the Tennessee Titans as we head into training camp here in the next couple of weeks?
As we sit here today, Robbie, I still think they're the favorites to win the division, but I think the gap is closer between them and the Colts than it was last year. And I also think the Jaguars aren't the worst team in football again. I'm not really sure what to make of the Texans at this point, but I think the division will be more competitive than it was last year when really the Titans didn't even need their fastball to run away with it. That's going to have to be a different story this year. I still think they're the favorite. I agree with you. I think the defense is great, and what a difference a year makes, because this time last year we were like, how in the world is this team going to perform with the defense? Will they get anything out of them, or will it be all on the offense to try to figure it out? Well, they figured it out last year with the offense underperforming and struggling through injuries and the defense rising to the occasion. If you're a Titans fan or if you're Mike Vrabel, you're sitting here today saying, I feel comfortable with the defense and think they're going to be really good. Can we get that offense back to a level that approaches what we saw in 2020? If they do that, if they get that offensive production back, they're a Super Bowl contending type of team. If they don't, I think it's a dogfight within the division. But, yeah, right now, sitting here today, I still give them the slight edge on the Colts at the top of the AFC South.
The great Steve Lehman, our guest here on Robby and Rexrode, does a great job at News Channel 5. Steve, great stuff as always. Thanks for taking time to join us this morning.
Robbie, my pleasure. Thanks for having me. And real quick, Adam, great to talk to you. You are an absolute pleasure to work with around the Predators, and a treat for everybody who's a Predators fan. You've got a great eye for stories and what you do, so I look forward to the next chapter, and I know a lot of people do as well.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thanks, Steve.
Very, very good stuff. Very well said. Steve, thanks, man. Appreciate you.
You bet. See you guys.
Steve Lehman, our guest here on Robby and Rexrode. We'll take your thoughts on the Titans and the Preds. Take it anywhere you want to take it. 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. This is Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Matich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic on Nashville's best sports talk. ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Happy Tailwagon Tuesday, Sounds fans. We know your pup loves baseball, so why not bring them out to the game at First Horizon Park tonight? Or make plans for you and your crew to come out tomorrow for a Dansby Swanson Vandy Boys jersey giveaway. For tickets, visit NashvilleSounds.com.
If you suffer from joint pain from arthritis or an injury, you know the traditional treatments, pain meds, steroids, and then surgery, right? Willie Donick here with great news. Now there's a better way, and it's here now from the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative medicine. This is an advanced, exciting, and natural alternative that can give you lasting relief using your body's own healing power. Listen, steroid shots are toxic to your joints. Pain meds can be addictive, and nobody wants to go under the knife. It's 2022, and those old ways are out. The new way is in. Regenerative medicine, restoring and repairing damaged joint tissue using natural biologics. No drugs, no downtime, no surgery. QC Kinetics and their protocols can address any pain in any joint and give you the quality of life you deserve. So call the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics now. 615-249-4024. 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024 for QC Kinetics.
The Game text line is driven by Wilson County Hyundai. Online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Be a part of the conversation. Call or text the Game at 615-737-1025.
Other banks go out of their way to make redeeming credit card rewards needlessly complicated, like how they require minimums or force you to use your rewards before reaching some arbitrary expiration date. But Discover isn't like that. With Discover, you can redeem your rewards for cash in any amount, at any time. So you'll never have to jump through hoops. Unless you're like a trapezist, then by all means, go right ahead. Learn more at discover.com/redeem rewards. Terms apply.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
I'm asking about Prevnar 20 because there's a chance pneumococcal pneumonia could put me in the hospital.
Age 65 or older, you may be at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine, a Pfizer vaccine that can help protect against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. The most commonly reported side effect was pain at the injection site. For additional common side effects and full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
I want to be able to keep my plans.
So I'm asking my doctor about getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20.
Well, you've got the whole world listening. What do you got to say? Never miss a moment of the show. Subscribe to the Robby and Rexrode podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. We may now begin our day. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
Tune in for Nashville Sounds Baseball tonight at 7:05 p.m. on 94.9 The Fan. The Sounds host the Memphis Redbirds, the AAA affiliate of the St. Louis Cardinals at First Horizon Park. Sounds Baseball on 94.9 The Fan, presented by 312 Pizza and Farm Bureau Health Plans. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode. We are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. We are live from the Hillside Medical Game Studio on this Tuesday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Thanks to Steve Lehman from News Channel 5 for joining us in the last segment. It is going to be interesting to see how this plays out. You brought up the Jeremy Fowler piece from ESPN.com. So Jeremy Fowler basically goes through each position group and gets input from executives and coaches, and I don't think players are a part of it, but just different people around the league. Coordinators are involved as well, and kind of gets their thought on the top 10 players at each position group. So we talked about this last week. Jeffrey Simmons was at number 2 behind Aaron Donald in terms of the defensive tackles. I was very interested to see the running back list when it came out, because I wanted to see where Derrick Henry would be, and frankly, I thought he would be probably second or third just based off the injury that he had last year. But he is at number 1 on ESPN.com. Derrick Henry at 1, Jonathan Taylor at 2. So, Adam, how do you view the Derrick Henry situation from the standpoint of he's 28, which is by no means old, but that's getting up there in terms of running back years. He's got some wear and tear on him from a lot of the carries that he's had over the last few years. I guess if there is a blessing in disguise from him getting hurt last year, the workload that he was on pace for was the most carries in the history of the National Football League, and he did not get to that with the injury that he sustained. So how do you view him coming off the foot injury? Do you expect to see the same Derrick Henry that we saw pre-injury? Because that's always a difficult question to answer, especially at that position.
Yeah, it's a good question. And according to Jeremy Fowler in his story, he said that Henry and Jonathan Taylor tied for the most first-place votes in his poll, but Henry won out on composite scoring.
Yep.
He had an NFL coordinator say, quote, "I'd still give him one more year at the top," this being Derrick Henry. "He's the constant for that offense no matter who's around him. I still trust him to make it happen above anyone else. You can give him the ball 30 times, and he won't disappoint." And yeah, you're right. Like, if there is a blessing in disguise for the Derrick Henry injury, it's that there was a few months there where he wasn't playing, and perhaps that gives him a little bit more runway as he returns. But as this coordinator said, and I think I was talking about this with Caroline a couple of weeks ago, that without, this offense, is cycles. I mean, not cycles. It runs through Derrick Henry.
For sure.
No pun intended.
And that was when you had A.J. Brown. Now you don't even have it.
No, absolutely. An NFC executive is quoted as saying, "I go Henry because everyone knows he is running the ball, and their offensive line has been injured, and it largely doesn't matter."
That's a good point.
I mean, that's yeah. I mean, Derrick Henry is a freak in the most positive way that one can call someone a freak, because his athletic ability is supernatural. And I am curious to see how the Titans go about using him this year, because I don't think you're right, especially with what Steve was talking about with the uncertainty surrounding Treylon Burks. You can't ease Derrick Henry back in. Like, you've got to go back to, as Jared says, let the big dog eat. You have to go back to doing that. You can't. I think it would have been better if why am I blanking on his name? The running back who was with the Titans, who signed with the Panthers.
Foreman.
Yes, if Deontay Foreman, thank you. If Deontay Foreman was still on the team, I thought Deontay Foreman did a good job replacing Derrick Henry. I feel like if you had Deontay Foreman still, maybe you could rotate Foreman in a little bit more. But without, and Hassan Haskins is an intriguing rookie, but we'll see how much the Titans use him. But it'd be one thing if the Titans had other options and you could maybe take a little bit off of Derrick's plate, but they don't have that. So Robert Woods is an upgrade, you would think, over Julio Jones, because you would hope that Robert Woods would actually be on the field, and Austin Hooper is an upgrade over Anthony Ferkser. But there's a question mark at wide receiver replacing A.J. Brown with Treylon Burks. So you're going to have to go back to using Derrick Henry the way you were using Derrick Henry. And it could be a good thing or a bad thing.
That's the thing. Like, I always say this, and maybe it does change now that he's actually been injured. Now, I will say, I'm no medical expert, obviously, thank God, but I don't know that the injury to his foot came from wear and tear. By most medical experts, it just happened, and sometimes that can just happen. So, could this be the sign of things to come with Derrick Henry, and could injuries start to break him down? Maybe, but I've always said this about Derrick Henry. You can have a plan to limit him, and you can have a plan that, okay, we don't want Derrick Henry having 35 carries a day, so let's ease him into the game. And that sounds good in theory. And then you get into the second quarter and you're down 7-3, and you hand him the ball 3 times in a row, and all of a sudden he's ripped off 25 yards, and then you hand him the ball again and he rips off 8 yards. Like, it's an easy thing to say that you want to limit Derrick Henry's carries. It's much harder, I think, to play that out in the course of a game when you know, number one, how important he is and how good he is, but number two, how much of an effect he has on the opposing defense. Like, you can – and I don't know that I've ever seen another player exactly like this at that position. Just you can see it watching the game on television, the opposing defense wearing down by the time the fourth quarter comes around. Like, they have no desire to continue tackling this gigantic human carrying the ball by the time the fourth quarter rolls around. So I think it's an easy thing to say that you want to limit the carries of Derrick Henry, and maybe this is the year that they do it. I think that's a much harder thing to put in practice once he's on the field and, the game is live, as they say.
Yeah, and just to go through this list, the list of the top 10 running backs according to Jeremy Fowler. Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, Nick Chubb, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Joe Mixon, Christian McCaffrey, Najee Harris, Aaron Jones, and Javonte Williams. Honorable mentions: Austin Eckler, Ezekiel Elliott, Saquon Barkley. Also receiving votes: Josh Jacobs, Miles Sanders, and Antonio Gibson. Any qualms with that list?
Not really, but I guess what really stands out to me is I think there's a pretty significant gap after you get to number 5. Like, Kamara's really good, even though last year probably not the year that he wanted to have. But Henry, Taylor, and Chubb, they're different players, but they play a similar style. But after you get to 5, I think there's a pretty significant drop off. Like, I love me some Aaron Jones, but the fact that Aaron Jones is at number 9 on this list with Green Bay probably tells you about the state of the running back position. Like, Aaron Jones is really good, but I don't know if he should be a top 10 running back in the league.
He was number 8 in last year's ranking. He was 6. It was the highest ranking I think he must have received.
He's really good in the passing game,
yeah.
and that's really what goes to, like, even the Joe Mixon part of this. Like, that's how you have to evaluate running backs today, because like the days of Derrick Henry, that's what makes him such a unicorn, because they're largely gone. Like, the running back that you just turn around and hand the ball off to 25, 30 times a game, that just doesn't really happen in today's NFL. So, Jonathan Taylor has some of that. Nick Chubb has some of that when he's on too. But those 3 guys are really about it when it comes to just traditionally turning around and handing the ball off. So it's going to be interesting to see what version of Derrick Henry we see once training camp begins here in just a few weeks. By the way, programming announcement: David Poyle now at 10 o'clock coming up on the DDC. So right at the top of the show, the guys will be joined by David Poyle, general manager of the Nashville Predators. So make sure you're tuned in for that. Speaking of the Predators, we caught up with Philip Forsberg earlier in the show, live from Sweden. It was a great interview with Forsberg. If you missed it, we'll have that for you coming up next. Let me tell you about my friends at FanDuel Sportsbook. You can go yard all summer long with $5 Dinger Tuesdays on FanDuel Sportsbook. This season, all customers will get $5 for every home run hit by both teams when you place a $25 to hit a home run wager on Tuesday MLB games. And the best part about Dinger Tuesdays is even if your bet loses, FanDuel will pay you $5 for every home run. Austin Riley hit a rocket last night for the Braves against Scherzer and the Mets. But I'd probably go with the Yankees. They've been my team all year long with this competition. Aaron Judge crushing the ball, Anthony Rizzo crushing the ball. That's the team I'd go with, but take it any way you want to take it. What are you waiting on? Just pick your home run hitter and turn big swings into big wins. There's no better place to bet America's pastime than on America's #1 sportsbook. So head on over to your FanDuel account or download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and sign up using promo code ROB. Once again, that promo code is ROB. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Bonus issue does not withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. A max bonus of $25. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Hey, this is Philip Forsberg. And this is Smashville.
Forsberg a shot, broken up in front, give it back to Forsberg, and here come the hat.
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network, ESPN 1025 The Game.
Hey, it's Jared from my friends at Hiller. Hiller is celebrating the home of the free all July along with special deals for customers. This month only, take advantage of free whole home surge protection and interest-free financing for 12 months with the purchase of a new whole home generator. Free programmable thermostat and interest-free financing for up to 48 months on select new HVAC systems, and a free water sensor leak detector and free interest financing for 12 months when you buy a new tankless water heater. All of these purchases come with a free Happy Hiller Club membership. Their work is backed by the Happy OB or Services Free Guarantee. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Ever tried to shop for a diamond online? They all look great on the computer screen, but the fact is, most reputable jewelers like Genesis Diamonds wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole.
These are the diamonds that nobody wants to buy. We call them the B-quality diamonds.
That's Genesis owner Boaz Ramon, who says that even diamonds with the same grade and specs on paper can be very different when you see them up close in person, especially the ones from online dealers.
Those diamonds gonna look always cloudy or dirty. It's like you're wearing your glasses and there is fingerprints all over the glass. You just don't understand, or nobody told you that the material that this diamond was cut from was not the best material.
Why risk it? At Genesis Diamonds, they screen thousands of diamonds and only choose the best of the best for maximum brilliance, sparkle, and luster. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
I'm Boaz Ramon, and my accent is always on value.
Hey, it's Jared for TriStar Moving. If you're looking to move, you need to give my friends at TriStar Moving a call. At TriStar Moving, you'll get 5-star service throughout the entire process. Everything will be taken care of, from covering your floors, banisters, railings, front door thresholds, furniture, TVs, and more. They took great care of my move and made it as stress-free as possible. If you're looking to move, give TriStar Moving a call, 615-640-1219, or visit them at nashvillemoving.org/radio and get 5% off your entire move. TriStar Moving, my official movers.
Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN.
Welcome into the DDC.
Stomach Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have two choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators.
He scores!
Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey Nashville, it's Max Kellerman, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 1025 The Game.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We caught up with Predators forward Philip Forsberg, fresh off signing an 8-year, $68 million contract to re-sign here in Nashville. Here was that conversation from earlier today with Philip Forsberg. And welcome in the man of the hour, Philip Forsberg. Philip, what's going on? How are you?
Hey, guys. I'm doing great. How are you guys?
We're great. Appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning. So, Philip, what's kind of this last week or so been like for you, signing the deal and, the press conference yesterday and now trying to move ahead with the rest of your offseason here. What was it like to finally get this thing done?
No, it's been great. It's been a lot. It's been a lot going on, obviously, but it's been I'm very happy that we ended up getting this done, and obviously we're very excited to move ahead here.
What was the process like for you? Because you've been talking about this. I mean, I asked you about this last year at training camp, and it's been something that you've had to deal with in the media for a long time. But so just this whole process of you're playing last year, you're on an expiring contract, the negotiations to get to this point. What did you learn about all that, and how's it feel to finally be done with all that at this point?
No, I mean, it feels great. I remember telling you guys that I was considering sitting out the season, but I think it was good that I didn't pull that trigger. It worked out in my favor by playing.
I'd say so.
But it was, it was a fun season, obviously for the team. I thought the team took big steps from a little bit uncertain off season, and we moved along very nicely, I think. And personally, I mean, I think I obviously took another step in my development too, and that's, I mean, no better time, I guess, to do it at that time too. But it's definitely going to be, good to just keep playing and keep trying to improve without having that kind of talk like you mentioned in the background.
Philip, as you were kind of going through this process, what were some things that were important to you to make sure that this ultimately got done? And how important was just your experience with the Predators, of course, the franchise itself, but also the city of Nashville, knowing that this is a place that you and your fiance have come to love? How important was that throughout the course of these discussions?
I mean, as a player, I guess you can say that there's three major things, and obviously it's the team, and it's the city, and it's the fans. At least that's the way I look at it. And there's obviously certain things that comes into play on top of that, but those are the main three. And you can check the box on all three of those. Obviously, Nashville, and like you said, we love Nashville. We think it's a great city. We met there obviously a handful of years ago now, and we've obviously kind of turned into our home, which is cool, and that's not going to change for the next 8, hopefully, which is a great feeling to have. And at the end of the day, that was the plan all along, and now we want to get to work and try to bring a championship to the city.
Philip Forsberg joining us here on Robby and Rexrode. Philip, Adam Vingen here. Good to talk to you. As you just said, you get a contract with a full no movement clause through the first 6 years. And you said it yesterday as well, that it was important for you and your fiance to be able to have that security, to know that you're going to be here so that you can plant roots and take the next steps in your relationship and start a family. I'm also curious about how much the trades of Victor Arvidsson and Ryan Ellis played into that decision, because they, like you, were core players for this team who signed long-term contracts expecting to be members of this team for that long, whether it was 7 years for Victor, 8 years for Ryan, and ultimately that didn't happen, and they were traded to different teams. If at all, did that play a role in wanting to make sure that you absolutely had that security in your contract to know that would not happen to you?
I mean, we never brought those two guys' names up, but at the end of the day, you see players get traded all the time to different teams, and like I said, it's definitely something that was important to us early on in negotiating to getting that taken care of. And like you said, we've seen it firsthand without really bringing those situations up. It was pretty clear early on that we did want that to be the case, and we're very happy that we were able to get that to work.
Philip Forsberg on with us here on Robby and Rexrode.
Philip, what was on the itinerary for your bachelor party?
I bet you want to know that.
Yes, I do.
It was a good time. That's all I can say. We had a good time. It was my friends did a great job setting it all up, or not all up. We all put it together obviously, but it was great. We had a really good time, and there's a little bit of recovery needed, but I feel better now. So.
Where were you when you signed the contract? I believe, a member of your agency tweeted out a picture when the deal was official of you signing it on looked like on a sidewalk cafe, perhaps. Where were you when you actually put ink to paper?
So that was in Stockholm on Sunday morning after we had got back. So, and he got back even later. because he came from Montreal for the draft, so he was 2 hours, I think, away from the airport. At least we got the night before, and I stayed over at a friend's place, and then we got that done and fitted in a wedding suit trial before too. So there's been a lot going on, I'll tell you that.
Yep, that's a big couple of weeks for you. So Philip, obviously with the contract behind you now, you brought up your season from a year ago. Obviously big numbers, over 40 goals, 84 points last season. What do you make of the step that you were able to take last year on the ice, and how do you try to replicate that and even improve on that as you move forward now?
I think that's been something that I've had in me for a while, to be honest with you. And why I haven't been able to do it, I don't know. I would have obviously changed something at that point, but I think it is a bit of a maturing process. I mean, you come into this league and you're excited to play, and you figure things out as you go, and then it gets, like I said, it never gets easier whether you think it should or not. I mean, it gets harder. There's new players coming in, everything changes, your role changes on the team, and the team changes obviously. So I think for me it's been a constant growing process of just trying to become better as a player overall. I guess obviously scoring and producing offensively is always and will always be my number one strength, I guess. But at the same time, I feel like I've grown into being a way more complete player, playing a lot of minutes on the other side of the puck now too, especially in the playoffs. We're matched up against obviously the big boys for the Avs there, with playing almost every shift against McCarr, and like that's challenging, but it's something that I've taken more pride in, and I think that's definitely helped my game overall too. You know, you get more trust from your coaches and your teammates, and then ultimately you're on the ice more. And I think that's something that kind of gets lost a little bit in the fact of all the stats, obviously, and that's something that I do want to keep improving on going forward as well.
Philip, you mentioned the Avalanche, of course, ultimately winning the Stanley Cup, and you and your teammates got a firsthand look at how dominant they could be in the first round. I don't know if you continued to watch the Stanley Cup playoffs once your season was over, but seeing how the Avalanche made it through and ultimately won the championship, I guess what impressed you the most about that team? And this is a team that you've seen grow too, a team that when they faced the Predators and in the Stanley Cup playoffs in 2018, they looked like they were ready to take that next step, and ultimately they did. So, what did you see from the Avalanche? What most impressed you about their run, if you watched it?
I honestly didn't watch any playoff hockey at all after we were done. It's just one of those things that you know somebody's going to win, and I'll just let them do it. I don't really want to watch anything. And but just from playing the Avs in our series, it was. Obviously, they're a better team, and clearly they were the best team in the league this year. But I think what impressed me the most is kind of like obviously their top players are top in the world. I mean, like I mentioned, McCarr and McKinnon, and even a player like Rantanen turning into almost their best forward in the playoffs. I mean, he had a really good run, and then I think, but what impressed me the most, I think, is their overall just the depth of the team. I mean, they just rolled four lines. I mean, from what I've gathered, basically through the whole playoffs, every player stepped up at different moments, and that's kind of how it has to be. I mean, it reminded me a little bit of when we went to the finals there. We had the same kind of feeling in our team. Every player contributed, whether it was the first line or the fourth line or even the Black Aces coming in playing big roles. And I think they obviously had a way more skilled and better team than we did that year, but it was kind of the same mentality that it wasn't just McKinnon every game or McCarr every game. It was Lehkonen or it was that O'Connor kid. It was like they had a good depth, and clearly that's what made them so successful.
Philip Forsberg on with us here on Robby and Rexrode. So, Philip, to that point, in terms of building the depth, you brought up the Ryan McDonagh trade a couple of different times yesterday. What does a move like that signal to players on your team, bringing in a guy that's a two-time Cup champion and has been as consistently really good of a shutdown defenseman as McDonagh has been? What does that do for you guys?
No, I mean, it does a lot. I mean, like I said, especially going into last season, you weren't really sure what direction this franchise is going to take with, like I said, some of the moves we made. And then credit to all the guys on the team, we steered the ship back in the right direction. That could have gone either way, and we made an uncertain situation into a good season. I mean, we made the playoffs and had exceptional performances from many individual players, and kind of put, like I said, the team back on track. And now this move, trading for an older, but like you said, very still elite defenseman, in my opinion. That's something that you want as a player in the middle trying to get to the middle of your prime. You want to see that commitment from the team. It's different if we have him and we trade him away for a pick or something. Then, like I said, we're trending the wrong direction. But in my opinion, that shows that we're here to compete again, and that's what me and obviously the other core players in our team, we all want to win, and that's what we have to do.
So, Philip, last thing here for you, as you look ahead to this season with training camp coming up here in a few weeks, what's going to be for the kind of that next step to be taken from you guys? What do you think that's going to require from your group heading into the season? Obviously, with the picture still not finished, we think, and maybe some more guys being added to your team later this week.
I think we have to keep doing the things that we did. I mean, started with since Heinze came in, we were obviously transitioned into a different type of team than we might have been with Laviolette, and I think that's something that we've gotten better and better at. Obviously, the half season there, we fought all the way till the end and somehow made the playoffs, even though we had a pretty bad start. And then last year was another step in the right direction, more building on that foundation of hard work and grit and physicality, but also adding more of an offensive identity to our team that I think was better last year. But I do think that's steps that we have to keep taking. Obviously, the core group of players we have to get back or higher to the level we were last year, and all the young guys need to take another step as well. And we got a lot of exciting prospects and players that were getting their feet wet last year. But as you know, like, you need those players to take the next step. You need players on entry level or small deals to overperform with this salary cap era, and I definitely think we have the possibility for that.
Well, Philip, I can tell you the city is very excited that you've decided to re-sign here with the Predators. We appreciate so much you taking time to join us. Congratulations on the new contract. Congrats on the marriage coming up here in a couple of weeks, and we'll talk to you here in a few weeks, my friend.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys. Enjoy your summer.
Absolutely. Thanks, Philip Forsberg, our guest here on Robby and Rexrode. We'll take your thoughts, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. We'll react to Philip Forsberg coming up next as well. This is Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Looking at another warm day, but today we're going to factor in some more humidity. High 94, heat index 101. Storms possible starting this afternoon.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Hey, Willie Donick here. Are you feeling the sting of higher interest rates and higher costs? Those credit cards and other loans are costing more and more every month, and inflation is making everything else more expensive. Your home can save you right now. Your home's value is up, and there's a ton of cash in it, and you can access it with Loan Pronto. They specialize in zero-cost cash-out home refis. Get tens of thousands in as little as 2 weeks. And yes, VA loans are eligible. With a VA loan, you can access up to 100% of your home's value. So pay off high-rate credit cards and other loans. Consolidate everything into one super low payment. People who do this usually cut about $800 or more from their monthly budget. So if your home mortgage rate goes up a point or so, it's offset by your credit card rate going to zero. So call Loan Pronto and unlock that equity and wipe out the bad debt. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
For the first time in history, the FedEx Cup playoffs will begin at TPC Southwind, August 10th through 14th. Don't miss your chance to watch the top 125 players from the FedEx Cup standings compete for the PGA Tour's ultimate prize, the FedEx Cup. Only 70 players will make it through Memphis and on to the next round of the FedEx Cup playoffs. Daily grounds and upgraded ticket options are on sale now at FedExChampionship.com.
Hey, I'm Matt Saggio. I'm a marketing consultant with Cromwell Media. I get the opportunity to help local and regional businesses grow by pairing the right marketing solutions with their goals. You hear advertisers I work with on the radio every day, and you see their digital ads on your phone. I love what I do, and have been doing this for going on 10 years. Are you looking for a rewarding career in media advertising? Do you love helping people? Let's talk about you joining our team. Shoot us an email at together@cromwellmedia.com. That's together@cromwellmedia.com.
Hose and Belting Specialties in Murfreesboro is your local source for hydraulic, air, water, and chemical hoses, along with conveyor, timing, and metric belt needs. They stock metric fittings for both air and hydraulic applications. Hose and Belting Specialties stocks Parker hydraulic hoses and fittings, Goodyear Conti-Tech industrial hoses, and V-belts, just to name a few of their lines. For any of your industrial needs, call 615-895-HOSE. 615-895-HOSE.
Darren McFarland.
That's the most personality I think I've heard.
Willie Donick.
Give me credit. I said it.
Chase McCabe.
I still talk to people outside of this building.
The DDC. Weekdays from 10 to 2.
Presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in. Final segment of the day here on Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Adam Vingan, Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Tuesday morning. By the way, Joe Rexrode will be back coming up next week on Monday. So the vacation is over, and he has to endure me again for 4 hours.
He misses it.
I just want to say one thing that's completely unrelated. So as we were coming back from break, they had that, and we had that. What's the technical radio term for that we just had? The
promo?
The promo. Thank you. The promo. I don't know why I couldn't get that out. The promo for Darren, Donick, and Chase. And Chase is like, I still talk to people outside of this building. I'm glad that Chase has a social life outside of work.
Yes,
I'm afraid
he doesn't. He's just swamped with his suitly duties. There's so much to do.
He goes home and stares into a dark corner for the other 20 hours of the day that he's not on the radio.
He is allowed to converse with people that don't work here. That's good.
Yes, I talk to people outside of the building. I hope so, Chase. I hope that you still have friends. Sorry.
Shout out to Chase McCabe.
Coming up next.
Thanks to Philip Forsberg for joining us earlier in the show. Kind enough to join us live from Sweden. So that was good on his part to be able to do that. You tried to get to the bottom of what exactly went on at his bachelor party, and he was having none of it.
No dice. It's not. Perhaps it was not for family consumption.
Yeah. Who knows?
Something was consumed, I'm sure, but whatever it was not for family consumption. And hey, Philip he's having. I mean, everything is coming up roses for Philip Forsberg right now. Had the best season of his career. Signed a long-term contract, about to get married.
Came on Robby and Rexrode
this morning. I think there's a lot to like if you're Philip Forsberg. So I'm sure whatever he did, he had a fabulous time, and now I'm sure he's drinking a lot of Pedialyte.
Recovering.
Yes, recovering, I think was the term.
Recovering.
That
yes.
he used. So, I mean, it's pretty clear from his comments yesterday and from joining us earlier in the show, he wanted to be here the whole time. They got that done. He talked about how much the city means to him and his fiance. I'm curious now, he's been here for a long time at this point. Philip Forsberg, he made his debut back in 2013 with the Predators. So you're going on 10 years now of Philip Forsberg being here in the city, and he just signed up for another 8-year deal. If he plays out this contract, to me, and you start talking about him in the same breath that you'll talk about Rene and Yossi one day is going to be in the same conversation. Like, I don't know whether or not, Philip Forsberg's jersey is going to be retired at some point, but I just wonder what having legacy players like this that are here for long stretches of time, like we saw with Pekka, that we're in the midst of seeing with Yossi and now with Philip Forsberg, presumably as well. What does that mean for a franchise? What does that mean for a fan base in terms of connecting with those type players? Because those are the type of players when you look around the league. Like, think about the Red Wings and the Avalanche and, the Blackhawks, guys, franchises that have been around for a long time. Mm-hmm. You think about those type of players that were in one place for a long period of time, which in today's world of sports is more of a rarity than it is the rule.
Yeah. I think that's important. I mean, as you said, it is rare for a professional athlete, to spend the majority of his career, or all of his career actually, in one spot. And you've seen it in all different types of sports where a player who is synonymous with one organization, attempts to play for another, and it just doesn't look right. Nothing will, the image of Michael Jordan wearing a Washington Wizards jersey it will never not look weird.
It's pretty weird.
Yeah, and that doesn't tarnish Michael Jordan's legacy. He is Michael Jordan, but it's a weird footnote at the end of an illustrious career.
I've just now gotten used to Brady in the Tampa Bay jersey.
Yeah, exactly. And if Tom Brady wouldn't have won a Super Bowl, it would have been a little bit different. But yeah, you're right. Like, to have, we saw firsthand just how much of an impact Pecorine had locally in terms of his outreach at the Vanderbilt Children's Hospital, and how many people fell in love with the sport of hockey because they liked watching Pecorine. And I think Philip Forsberg is a player in that same mold for a lot of people locally. He is an all-time favorite. He is the greatest forward that's ever played for them, just based on his numbers. And Philip Forsberg is someone who young hockey players in this area and areas adjacent, who the young players look up to. They want to be like Philip Forsberg. How many number 9s do you think there are playing hockey, in the lower, among in youth leagues in Nashville? So I think, Philip is an important player, not just on the ice, but off the ice. And I think that's what David Boyle was talking about yesterday. And that's been important for Philip too, is to be a player that, when his career is over, is synonymous with Nashville. And, of course he'll want to win a couple championships before then, or at least one. But yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. We saw it with Pecorine. We did see it for a time with Shea Weber. And we're seeing it with Roman Josi and now with Philip Forsberg.
So as we wrap up here in the next couple of minutes, where have you seen his game grow the most? And do you feel like last year, the year that he had, is sustainable for him? We talked about the shooting percentage yesterday, but with the way he's played the game, he talked about how much growth he think he's seen in a 200-foot game of himself. Talked about he always has had, he feels like, the type of offensive season that he had last year in him at some point. He just finally put it together. Do you think that what he did last year he can carry forward?
I think so, to some extent. I don't know if he's going to score 40 goals every year, but I think he has the talent to challenge for that every year, even if he comes up a little bit short. I think I said yesterday that he needs to be a 35-goal, 70-point player every season. I think that's the baseline. I've always been impressed with Philip's physical ability. I think when he leans into that and not just uses, I think that was the one thing that John Hines said when he first got here about Philip. He wanted him to think power before skill, because we know that Philip can dance around defenders just because he's naturally gifted, but he also is a big guy, and when he puts that shoulder down, he can get by guys, he can out-muscle guys, he can knock guys over along the boards. And I think that physical game accentuates the skill. So I think the more he can lean into that physicality, I think the better he'll get in becoming. Because you don't think of Philip Forsberg as a power forward necessarily. Right. Like when the first player I think of when I think power forward is like Tom Wilson in Washington. And Tom certainly crosses the line a lot. But but that physicality is the trademark of his game. Philip has, physicality is part of his game, but it's not necessarily the trademark. I would like to see Philip lean into that physicality a little bit more. I think that will make him an even better player.
And we'll see if he can do that. David Poyle coming up on the DDC next. This has been Robby and Rexrode. You're listening to 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
You watch The Game.
And he's going. Nobody's going to catch him.